Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to get you styled up with Stitch Fix. Shopping's hard. It's hard. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist, though, who understands your style, your size, your budget, and they do all the shopping for you.
Wow.
This is excellent. Shopping, I'm telling you, shopping and figure out your style, it's overwhelming. Let somebody help you when it comes to getting dressed. We don't know what we're doing, so we let Stitch Fix help us out. A Stitch Fix stylist there. They know what works on us. We get the prices that make us look really good, and it feels good. You get some confidence boost walking around knowing that you're looking decent here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we just give the stylist our sizes, style, budget preferences. We order boxes when we want, how we want, no subscription or any of that required. And they send called Just For Me pieces as well. Like, maybe you'd like this, and it's awesome. Outfit recommendations, styling tips. You keep what you love, you send back the rest. It's super easy.
Yep.
You can do it, and we are doing it because it's excellent. Personal styling for everyone. Get started today at stitchfix.com/STM. That's stitchfix.com/STM.
Now back to the show.
Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you a little bit more about Rocket Money. It's the start of a new year. It's the perfect time to get organized, set your goals, prioritize what matters most. And for me, top priority is getting myself together here. Financial wellness, doing that, which that feels important, you know? Just feels like adult stuff that you have to do. And thanks to Rocket Money, my goals feel achievable now. They show me all my subscriptions in one place, help me easily cancel ones I forgot that I've been paying for, which happened to me. Absolutely happened to me. I had, for years, I was paying for something. I was like, what is going on here? Rocket Money found it and saved me lots of money since then, because it's been a while. So they did a great job here. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/smalltownmurder today. That's rocketmoney.com/smalltownmurder. rocketmoney.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
Hi, I'm Ashley Flowers, and if you're like me and grew up watching America's Most Wanted and reading Nancy Drew, then hi, you're a crime junkie. And I bet that passion for solving mysteries never went away, which is why we've assembled a team of reporters to dig deep into all the cases we still obsess over. Each Monday, my best friend Britt and I will bring you a case that you won't be able to stop thinking and talking about. So join us by listening to Crime Junkie wherever you listen to podcasts.
This week, in Barkhamsted, Connecticut, a missing eye in a nightmare house that looks like a bloodbath causes a mystery that no one can agree on, including detectives who have very different theories. Welcome to Small Town Murder. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Small Town Murder.
Yay!
Oh, yay indeed, Jimmy. Yay indeed. My name is James Pietragallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Jimmie Whisman.
Thank you, folks, so much for joining us today on another absolutely insane edition of Small Town Murder. This is our Halloween week edition, of course. We have 2 really weird episodes for it, just, for the holiday. You know how it is. Fun stuff. As always, not like every week isn't Halloween here in Small Town Murder, but that's fine. Quickly, before we get to all that, just want to say thank you for all that you do for us. Thanks for your reviews. Whatever app you're listening on, 5 stars does help a lot. We don't know why. Say something.
It's a thing.
Just helps with the algorithm. We don't understand it. Head over to shutupandgivememurder.com right now. Get your tickets. Holy hell, it's if you're listening the day this comes out, it is tomorrow.
It's right now.
It's right now, the virtual live show, or if you're listening to this whenever, it's still available. It's available. It's October 27th. It's available for a week after that. Shutupandgivememurder.com. Our fun, it's just like a live show. Except you're at home and, instead of in a theater. That's all. But you can watch it anywhere in the world. You can watch it 10 times if you want. You can watch it a few days later if you want. Do whatever you want with it. Well, within reason, Don't be too gross about it, but do whatever you want with it.
I don't care if you do.
Yeah, you know what? Do whatever you want. You paid for it. Enjoy. ShutUpAndGiveMeMurder.com is where you get those tickets. Also, you want to get all your merchandise and everything else there at that particular website. And you should also head to patreon.com/crimeinsports, and you should definitely get on our Patreon for the cost of a cup of coffee, everybody. $5 a month or more. You are going to get a whole lot for that. You're going to get a whole back catalog that's very bingeable, whole 150 episodes back catalog, and then you're also going to get, that's a bonus episodes, of course, and you're going to get new ones every other week. One crime and sports, one small town murder. This week, no different. What you're going to get is, for crime and sports, you're going to get a tragic tale.
Yeah.
Tragic of a NBA #1 draft pick overall. Picture LeBron James gets drafted. He's a can't miss. He's #1. And then the night he gets drafted with all that hype, he drops dead from a heart attack from doing too much coke that night. Think about that. That's what happened.
How bad his hairline gets.
No, we'd never have an idea. His hairline would always be perfect. Instead, this is the story of Len Bias, and we'll tell you all about that. And then for Small Town Murder, we just have to do this. We wouldn't plan on it, but we've done our Jeffrey Dahmer thing before the Netflix series came out and everything. But we are going to do the differences between Netflix Jeffrey Dahmer story and real Jeffrey Dahmer story. What characters, didn't exist, what people they mashed into one person and had them have a whole thing that didn't really happen. When you have a very documented true story and you go, let's just make some shit up, it's amazing to me. So we'll talk all about that.
Things that made James punch a TV.
That's about it. Yeah, and good filmmaking, but not good when it comes to that stuff. We'll talk all about that. Patreon.com/crime and sports is where you get that. And then at the end of the show, you will, of course, get a shout out where Jimmie will mispronounce your name while trying desperately to get it correct. So that is what's there. Now, disclaimer, quickly, this is a comedy show. We're comedians. Story is all too real, unfortunately. Every tale, there's nothing made up for comedic effect or anything like that. And what we don't like to concentrate on. There's no jokes in violence. You know what I mean? There's nothing hilarious about someone cutting someone else's head off. That's never funny. But the idea of, I bet I can cut someone else's head off and get away with it, that's kind of funny. The psychology behind that's funny, and that's kind of where things go. Small towns, a bumbling police force that can't get a murderer caught correctly. All these things are fodder. But what we don't do, what we go out of our way not to do, is we never make fun of the victims or the victim's family.
Why is that, James?
Because we're assholes,
but
we're not scumbags, and that's how that works. So if that sounds wonderful to you, you're going to hear a crazy tale. If not, you think true crime and comedy should never, ever go together. I don't know. No complaining later. That's all I have to say. We warned you. But it's fine. Listen to it and relax. Relax a little bit. Everybody lighten up out there. That said,
calm the fuck down.
I think it's time to sit back wherever you are, hopefully, and not too public of a place. Let's clear the lungs, everybody, and shout, Shut up and give me murder. Let's do this, Jimmie.
All right.
Let's go on a trip, shall we?
Yeah, we shall.
Do it. We went from Massachusetts to Georgia on our regular length episodes, now up to Connecticut. Oh, here we go. This is Barkhamsted, Connecticut, which looks like Barkhamsted.
Got it.
So I assume it's Barkhamsted. We tried to look up the pronunciation, and it was just very weird computer voices that made it even more confusing, that I didn't even think I had it right, even half right anymore. This is in northwestern Connecticut over here. Probably get there in an hour and a half from my house if we wanted to here. We'll get in the car when we're done and we're going over there. It's about almost 40 minutes to Hartford, so it's kind of outside Hartford is the closest place. About an hour and 15 to New Haven, which is a terrifying city. The only place in Connecticut where you're like, oh, this isn't as nice as I...
Is this really Connecticut?
This isn't good. And about 40 minutes to Bantam, Connecticut, which was our last Connecticut episode 261, a while back there, which was scrap metal and sexual urges. I remember that one.
Yikes.
That was a gross one. It's in Litchfield County, area code 860. Little bit of history. This is a rural area. This is and especially when our story takes place, it was very rural. So this area, there isn't a ton of history because they pretty much broke it up into farms, and then everybody stayed there and just passed the farms down for the next, 3 300 years or so. So it's not a lot of like, oh, then this happened, then that happened type of deal here. In the beginning, each person who wanted to move here was granted 1 acre of this division of land for every 10 pounds he paid in taxes. So we were still paying in pounds. That tells you how long ago this was. Yeah. And that's how it worked. You pay 10 pounds, you get an acre.
Huh.
And that's how the whole deal was. Then they broke everything else up into other divisions that consisted of larger lots, and they had a lottery to buy those properties. So that's how this all started. It's like if you want to come here and, move to a nice rural area, this is the time to do it. Like they kind of auctioned it all off. But it's all this land kind of passes down in families for there. The town was first applied for incorporation in 1774.
My God.
So pre-revolution here. This is absolutely. It was named for Barkhamsted, England, which is about 30 miles northwest of London, which is, there you go. In 1764, it was still listed Barkhamsted, along with Winchester and Colebrook in the area were classified as towns not inhabited as of 1764.
Oh.
They were towns, but nobody lived there or anything like that. The first census taken, though, in 1856 lists 18 people living there.
Oh.
So there you go. Not too many. By 1771, we had 20 families there.
Shit.
By 1774, 250 people. Holy shit, it's getting crazy. By 1800, they had 1,437 people here. Tons of people came in. People started to settle the area, and then it kind of dropped off in the 1830s, and it's kind of gone up and down since then. Now, reviews of this town, not a lot as far as reviews go here. It's a small place, and the reviews are very, very to the point, succinct reviews. Like
specific.
Very like a USA Today headline version of it.
Okay.
Like
that's not bad.
Let's distill this complicated thing into 5 words that don't really explain it. But you sort of think you get it.
Leave it vague and let me come to my own conclusion.
That's how dumb people get dumb, though, is they read a headline that doesn't really
say what they're saying.
Reflect the article, and they're like, I read that, though. You're like, no, you read in a headline is what you read.
And you didn't account for the commas, you idiot.
Yeah, you didn't even account for that. You totally messed it up. Didn't get the gist of it. So here's 5 stars. Okay. I haven't lived in Barkhamsted for long, but it's becoming my favorite place. All the scenic places and wildlife is amazing. It's such a quiet area with a lot, but really nothing going on at the same time. I love it, and I'm glad it's my new home.
With a lot and nothing.
So yeah, there's
going on at the same time.
Plenty of woods and shit to walk around in, but then also if you want to go out to dinner, it's going to be 40 minutes in the car because there isn't like a nice restaurant in town. There isn't even an Olive Garden. You know what I mean? It's one of those.
It can't have a lot and nothing.
That's
not
the thing. We go through this every week with the reviews. People say this. I love how there's nobody here, and I love the solitude. Sure wish there was more. Sure wish there was a mall. And it's like, no. You can't.
You can't love both of those.
You can't have both those things. I'd love a big downtown, although I'd like no traffic. Okay, well, you can't have that. Sorry.
I wish this was New York City without New York City. That's what it is.
But then it would disappear when I wanted it to, and it would be, I'd hear crickets again and shit. So 4 stars here. Many restaurants that serve delicious food, as well as being affordable.
Yeah.
That's it. That's your whole review. So succinct.
And any in particular, friend?
Nope, just many. 3 stars here. My experiences have been excellent. However, not everyone feels this way. So,
not everyone feels that way about your experience?
Their review, 3 stars. Their experience is a 5-star, but they accounted for other people's shit talking. They're like, you know what? I've heard a lot of bad things, though. I can't say it's perfect. That's wild.
I've been doing great, making a bunch of money, but other people hate that I'm doing.
Not everyone feels that way. So you know what? I'm going to take what they said into account here and knock my review down a bit. I don't think reviews are very personal. You're not supposed to take into account what others think, I don't think.
Crazy.
What's going on over here? Do they bury nuclear waste in this area and nobody told them? Because there's
something's wrong.
Something's happening. People in this town, 3,587 people reside here today. And it's
tiny.
It's spread out, too. Yeah, for a spread out town, that's not a lot of people. Male, female's about normal. Median age, a little bit older, 45.6, so about 7 years more than up from normal. Everything's slightly above average over the age of 45 in terms of demographics. The more people are married here, kind of less people divorced, less people that are single with children here. It's kind of a family, live on a farm type of. But here you can have a house and have like a few acres and like some rolling hills, and then you can work in a city. You know what I mean? But then come home to that. So I think that's kind of the way that works.
That's the charm.
That's the charm. Race of this town, 96.1% white. It's pretty white. That's very white. That's very white. 0.1% black. 0.1. 2.2% Asian. 0.8% Hispanic. That's 0.8. Normally it's like 18%. 0.8. Yeah. That's wild. 42% of the people here are religious, and it is, as not surprisingly, it's Catholic. 26.6. As we know, Catholics are the Baptists of the North, as we are quite sure of there. What is it? We got 0.3% Jewish, so we don't quite make the Hava Nagila cut this week, but that's all right. We got it with Massachusetts. We've been lucky lately with it. We really have. We've been blessed, and so we can't complain. In this county, Litchfield County,
I say we're chosen.
You might say we've been the chosen people, but now this week we have to take a.
Take a back seat to him.
I'm going to relax, take a schwitz, and chill out. I'm going to be a mensch about it and not worry about it for now. You know what I mean? It's okay. So, in this county, 46.6% voted Democratic last presidential election, 51.7% voted Republican in the last election, and 1.7% independent. Unemployment rate here is actually a little bit high, probably because it's in the middle of nowhere, I would assume. Median household income, though, is higher than the national average. Median household income here is $81,792.
Connecticut has figured it the fuck out, man.
It's it's almost $30,000 more than the national average. Not bad. Cost of living, 100 is regular average. Here it's 108. So it's not too far out of whack. Housing is 110, so that's not bad. Median home costs $322,100. So
is that what 110 gets you? My Christ.
Yeah, 291.7 is the national average, the median home cost. Right? Yeah, that's the median home cost. So if we've convinced you, damn it, the hills are calling you. The beautiful rolling hills of the lower Berkshires, we have for you the Barkhamsted, Connecticut Real Estate Report. Average two-bedroom rental here is about $1,280, which is just above the national average, within $100 though. Here I found, let's say you just want to pitch a tent, okay? Yeah. You want to build your own house, pitch a tent. I found 2.2 acres of rolling hills, basically. It's nice area.
2 sticks of fiberglass scenic. through some mosquito netting, and you're in.
I'm not going to tell you how to live. I'm just saying, however you want to live, you can do it on this land. $49,000 for that.
Wow.
Which isn't bad at all. That seems like a good deal. Not
to get actual land.
Yeah, 2.2 acres that's some room. Yeah, you could spread out on that. And there's trees and hills. It's pretty. I don't know if you can build a house because of the hills or how hard that would be, but whatever. Here is 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,447 square feet. It's in nearby Winsted, which is right by here. It's not great. The bathrooms are horrible. It's not a good house. It needs some work. It's got some. HGTV would be like, oh boy, we can just gut this thing. And it's one of those.
The opportunity.
Holy hell, $149,000 for that though.
Not bad.
So that's not bad. It's almost 1,500 square feet. Next, I found 4-bedroom, 4-bath. 4,000 T-bowl for each and every B-hole, that is. 4,876 square feet. It's on 26 acres of land. Very nice and spread out, but it's a strange-looking house. It looks like a tech company built a house that they wanted to look like was in the woods. That's what it looks like. It's like
what's a square?
It's like a square weird house, but it's got like strange wood siding shit on it that looks like. But then the windows are very like modern. It doesn't know what it is. It's a weird-looking house. The inside's very nice. It's beautiful. It's fine. $1,095,000.
Hey.
And then there's one in Colebrook that is 4-bedroom, 4-bath, 4,300 square feet, and it's fucking gorgeous. It was built in 1795. Updated, nice, and keeping with the old-fashioned stuff and fixtures. Beautiful pool. It's ridiculous looking. $1,675,000 for that, though. Yeah, not bad at all. Allison wants to keep it for herself. Our research person, Allison, was like, I really need to. I hope there's a drastic price cut in that because I really, really want that one. Things to do here. Holy hell. Of course, Luann's Apple Festival and Classic Car Show.
Oh.
I didn't want to go to the it's Luann's. Okay, now I'll go. I didn't know Luann was hosting this year. Now I'm in.
Is it Luann's Classic Cars and then somebody else's apples, or is it Luann's apples?
I think everything's falling under the umbrella of Luann here. I think Luann has got it all covered.
Yeah.
So free warm apple crisp when you get there, free Aspen apple cider samples, free face painting. Oh no, thank you. You can keep that.
That's gross.
You're gonna have to assault me. Never mind, free. Classic car show, kids activities, blah blah blah. So there you go. There's that. There's the Phantom Fall Fest. Now these, bring the whole family and get ready to celebrate Halloween during. It's basically a park. They have 4 haunted houses, 3 scare zones, and themed food and drinks. So
Great.
It's on Lake Compounce. So there you go. Then there's a series of haunted experiences.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Haunted experiences. There's a haunted house that's the Spirits of the Swamp. And it says, breaking down in the bayou is never a good thing. Breaking down in the bayou after dark is even worse. Will you survive the night?
Connecticut's bayou?
It's like a swamp bayou theme, basically.
Okay.
If in Pirates of the Caribbean your boat crashed before you got to any of the drop-offs and you were just oh, that guy on the porch is going to rape me, I think that's what you would be in there. I think that's what they're going for anyway.
Yeah.
Next up is Scare Zone, Mask Rage, like mask with a Q-U-E, like masquerade, but mask rage. I think they're trying to put that in there.
So you got just covering your eyes and a bird beak over your nose, and that guy's going to finger you?
I was going to say, while somebody blows you and you eat a weird plate of hors d'oeuvres off a paper plate. Something
Strange.
like that. I'm mixing my knowledge of these sort of things from Eyes Wide Shut and also Always Sunny in Philly. So when you mix those two together, they're 2 very different viewpoints on the same thing here.
That's a haunted house I can get behind.
It's different. So this says, something sinister fills the air as you enter the Phantom's Masquerade Ball. Do you face the plague raging on outside or the Phantom and his demonic guests inside? It's not too late to leave through the gates. Ooh. Okay. So this is apparently there's a plague going on, so you're ushered into a house that's obviously very haunted.
What's worse, out there or in here?
What do you think? Here we go. Haunted house, the root of all evil is the next haunted house.
Yeah.
Dr. Belladonna Thornwood. Wow.
Hell yeah.
She sounds like she has huge tits and a tiny little lab coat, like Elvira in the 80s, dressed to dressed to do some lab samples.
The nurse from the Blink-182 cover.
Wow, yeah, something of that nature. Has gone mad on her quest for perfection. Now her once grand manor and famous garden lay in ruin. The night brings terrifying sounds, and a new creation of Dr. Thornwood's lurks around every corner and rotted door. Do you dare enter her twisted manor?
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
That's actually kind of fun.
That sounds interesting. Next is Scare Zone Monster Hunters, and this is in the woods. So,
I don't like that at all.
As you know from my house, the woods at night, it just eats light. Even a flashlight, you see 2 feet in front of you, it's just dead. I'm
not going out there.
Terrifying. Do you dare to enter the wilderness at night? Jimmie's answer is no. An evening stroll sounds relaxing until you hear the creaks in the nearby trees and shadows begin to emerge from the darkness. Suddenly you're surrounded by mythical monsters of the night with no escape in sight.
No!
Those are just deer. That's all they are.
Yeah, but still. Or it's some other animal that fucking frightens me.
In my woods at night, you hear constant shit breaking. It's all deer. That's all it is. It's all deer.
In New Hampshire, I saw a porcupine jump out of a tree like a fucking person. Like it jumped out.
Oh, they'll fuck you right in the face.
Hands.
They'll
Those
get you
things
good.
are so scary.
They'll put it right in your face, dude. That's how they do it.
I don't want anything to do with anything that lives at night in the woods.
Scare Zone Witch's Revenge.
Yeah.
300 years after their torture and trial, the witches of Connecticut have returned and have taken over Lake Compounce. You must face the wicked witches. Will they let you live?
Probably.
Haunted house, Alice in Wonderland. Will you go down the rabbit hole or through the looking glass? The choice sends you down one of two terrifying paths inhabited by evil residents of Wonderland who'll all be too happy to escort you to the Mad Red Queen herself. Off with your head.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, then. Off with your head. Interesting. So here's also Haunted House Meta-Evil. Is it medical shit?
What is that?
It's time to face judgment, it says. Oh, boy, I don't like that. As soon as you set foot in front of the Inquisitor, you are subject to his demonic interpretation of justice. Now you must endure soul-wrenching torture and venture into his twisted labyrinth of medieval chambers of chaos, bearing witness to never-ending punishment and wondering if there may be some way yet to escape your dark fate.
Looks like H.H. Holmes shit.
Jesus, they got some dark-ass shit there, yeah. So this is a haunted house town.
Of 3,000 people.
They need something to attract people.
Haunted houses
on like one prop. It's like a haunted house, like mega store, is what it is. It's like a super Walmart of haunted houses broken into sections. It's crazy.
A strip mall of just haunted houses.
Oh, shit.
Each door is another one that's themed something different.
A lot of times these people have a lot of land, so that's what they do. They'll set up a haunted house at certain times. They'll rent their barn out for weddings. Like, this is how rural people make some money. Yeah, my cousin had a wedding, and just to rent the barn, no chairs, no food, not a fucking fork, not a napkin, nothing.
10 grand.
10 grand.
Yeah.
10 grand. Nothing.
Yep. You want your fucking rustic pictures? It's going to cost you.
And you had to clean it. You had to show up beforehand and clean it. They were like, I don't know, it's probably pretty dirty. You should probably go clean it first. Like, are you kidding me? Fuck that.
Oh my!
So
that's crazy.
That's what a barn is worth nowadays. That's
10 grand for 6 hours.
Well, that's because you want to put it. Not you, but it's because people want pictures of me in a rustic wedding and on Instagram. So that'll cost you 10 grand. Enjoy.
Fucking Instagram, ruining everything.
Crime rate in this town, what we're interested in here, the property crime is less than half the national average. So
really, not
a lot of stealing. And then violent crime, murder, rape, robbery, and of course assault. The Mount Rushmore of crime here is about 1/4 of the average in the country. So
3/4 low.
3/4 low. It is a safe town, I would say here. That said, let's talk about a fucking horrible murder. What do you say, everybody? Let's get into this. First of all, some of this stuff I want to give credit to a not very good book. Written poorly, but has good information. It's one of those. Somebody wanted to write a book that I don't think is very good at writing, but they went around and got all the information. They're just to put it together seems like a task. I feel like for
they
people.
Found the right story, and execution was shit.
Yeah, like I said, info's in there, but there's like misspellings and typos and shit, and you're like, this is a book, dude. Like, someone's supposed to look over this before you put it out. But now that I've talked terrible shit about it, let's get us some story help out of it. So it's called The Piggy Bank Murder by Tom Walsh. So that's the book. Okay. Let's go back in time, Jimmy. Want to time travel with me?
I love it.
Let's do it. Get the bags. Let's step into the time machine. Twirling back. We're going way back this week. Way farther than we usually go, actually. But the story's so crazy it needs to be told. We're going back to 1965.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We're talking Brill cream in the hair. This is pre-hippie. This is
Everybody's got Brill Cream. All the boys and all the guys.
Well, Brill Cream or Flat Top. Those are the two options that you have. Yeah. That's it. That's either 1963 Pete Rose, that's the flat top, or you have a Brill Cream newscaster do. That's all you have. And black horn rim glasses. Those are the only options for a man to look like. They all look like the Zodiac Killer.
Rolled up jeans. Why are the jeans so goddamn long?
Everybody looks like, well, that's so as you get taller, you can hem them down. It's to save money. It's left over from the Depression, I think.
Everybody's jeans are for somebody 6 inches taller than them.
It's a glorious time, Jimmy. That's what we're talking about. So this is 1965 in Western Connecticut. Let's talk about a guy here. His name is Arnfinn.
What's his first name?
Arnfin. Arnfinn.
What is that?
He goes by Arn.
Yeah, I would too.
I always thought Arn was short for Arnold, not Arnfinn.
Not this one.
What the hell is that? That's bonkers. Arnfinn?
Did he have an Uncle Arnold and or a grandfather Arnold and another grandfather Finn?
Arnfinn? I don't know. There's no one else in the family is named Arnfinn. They were like, we're naming him weird. Arnfinn.
I didn't even know that was an option of a name.
No, that's like calling somebody fucking Rob for a long time and then finding out his name's not Robert, it's Robalonelia, and you're like, what the fuck are you? Really? That's your name, Robinolelia? That's a weird name.
Your name's Robfield. Really?
I've never heard that before. It's fucking ridiculous. Either way,
Robson, really?
Arnfinn Thompson. And that's S-E-N, Thompson with an E.
Of course it is.
Arnfinn Thompson, of course, 32 years old in 1965.
Okay.
He's an accountant. He's
born in 33?
Born in 33, my friend.
Jesus.
Absolutely. I think he's born in 32, actually. He's not quite that.
Not quite.
Yeah, I think at the end he's a December baby, I believe. Mm-hmm. So 32 years old and 65, though. He's an accountant. He passed all the exams, and he's waiting for his CPA certificate. But he's doing a lot of bookkeeping work. He has a job, and then he has like kind of side jobs where he does bookkeeping for companies that only need like a part-time bookkeeper. Mm-hmm. So he does all of that. In 1959, he got married. And he got married to a woman named Dorothy Burdick was her name, and she will become Dorothy Thompson. And everybody calls her Dottie, of course, because it's 1959. Of course, there's a Dottie. So that's when they got married. So picture 1959 is when Grease is set. That's the year Grease. It's set in 1959. So there you go. That's what everybody looks like when they met. And they danced and they sang how they felt, Jimmy. That's how they did. And you needed to settle a score. You don't do it with fists. You don't do it with guns. You do it with your car. You get in the car.
Jazz hands.
Well, you dance it off first, and then that usually just builds the tension and builds then when you finally have to blow it all off, you go right out there. To an abandoned canal doesn't have water in it right now.
There's a trickle down the middle. That's it.
Well, that's how he got Dottie. He had to race a guy for her. That's how it works. He had to race another guy for her, and he won. So he got. They raced for pinks and pinks. That's how they raced for her. That's how that's what it was called.
Slips? Nah, man, you're girl.
Well, and the pink slip, but we call it pinks and pinks. It's a pink squared. We tried for a while, but not a lot of people are good at math around here. So we went with double pink or pink, either one, but not pink squared because, like we said, didn't really work. So anyway, Dottie's 30. She's 2 years younger than him. She graduated in 1953. From Gilbert High School, which is in the area here. She's an organist at the St. Paul's Lutheran Church in New Hartford.
Really?
So, yeah, she does that. Her dad's name is Asa Burdick.
What is that?
Asa Arnick or whatever. Arnfinn. Arnick, did I call him? What's the difference? Arnfinn, it's the same thing. It's Arn. So either way, her parents were the owners and operators of the Burdick apple orchards, which and they were very respected residents. They had an apple orchard. So when people go apple picking, and they go to their property. Right. So everybody knows the orchard people in the area in the Northeast because people take their kids there to go apple picking in the fall. So it was and Dottie's considered kind of classy, nice, fine woman. You know what I mean? Upstanding. The type of woman your parents would want you to marry in 1953.
Hell yeah.
She comes from a nice Apple family.
Yeah, sure does.
You got old Apple money. That's something. Yeah. Not a lot of people.
She got Rayburn money?
She's got like orchard money. That's different, Her money grows on trees, literally.
Yeah. She got Fuji money.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah, she's got gala money, bitches. Hey, everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you about the safest sponsor ever, Simply Safe. Absolutely. These people will keep you safe. It's amazing. You know that every 26 seconds a burglary takes place in the United States, according to the FBI. That means that by the time this podcast is over, dozens and dozens of homes will have been targeted, ransacked. God knows what happens here. So protect your home before it's too late with Simply Safe proactive security system. Simply Safe helps stop threats before they even have a chance to break in. Named Best Home Security System by U.S. News and World Report 5 years in a row. And by us for about the last 8 years as well. If you trust us, believe me, you want Simply Safe. So visit simplysafe.com/small to claim 50% off a new system with professional monitoring plan and your first month free. That's simplysafe.com/small. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Now back to the show.
Hey, everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you a little bit about Sono Bello. The most known secret with celebrities and influencers and all these famous people is so many of them have had lipo. They've had lipo, whether it's a little touch-up here or a total makeover.
Yeah.
Nobody has a perfect body. That's the thing.
No.
They may look like it on TV, but there's things that help that. Absolutely. Lipo now has changed, and Sono Bello's been at the forefront with using LAL technology and getting those beautiful and natural outcomes for each person. Looking real natural. Our friends at Sono Bello are offering their best deal. You're now included in their winter savings event, but appointments are limited, so please get on this. Sono Bello doctors are masters in micro laser fat removal, a brilliant technique that removes stubborn fat permanently wherever your problem areas are. Tummy, love handles, thighs, arms, it's gone in one comfortable visit. Eating healthy and workouts are great. Keep doing that, but if you want to lose that stubborn fat in one visit, check out Sono Bello. Save big during their winter savings event. Schedule your free consultation now at sonobello.com/smalltownmurder. That's sonobello.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
So that's Dottie. Before marrying Arnfinn, she was a teller at the Riverside Bank in New Hartford as well. So that was her job. She married Arnfinn, and back then, when you got married, you had to quit your job and all that.
That's retirement, man.
Yeah. Your husband would beat you if you tried to work back then, I believe, is how. I don't know. That's how it would work. So she is described as a small woman with relatively fragile bones and delicately built. She's very tiny.
Like a bird.
That's how you would describe a bird that you shouldn't crush in your hands.
Right.
If you gave a 5-year-old a parakeet, you go, now it's small with relatively fragile bones and it's delicately built. So don't try to.
It's a robin. Son.
Don't do that. You know what I mean? Try not to smash the canary if you could. Yeah. Don't clap the canary is something. That's another 50 song. There's Rockin' Robin and Clappin' Canary. They mean very different things.
You may now gently not clap the bride.
Canary clapping, clap, canary clapping. That's like it's the other one was crunchity crunch. This is clappity clap. Either way. So here he is. Arnfinn here marries her. Arnfinn is 5-something, not a very tall guy, 5'8" or so. Pale, dark-haired. He is employed at the Carpenter Brick Company as their accountant or bookkeeper or whatever the hell you want to call it.
You make him sound hot as shit.
It's made him sound like he's hurling bricks. No, he's just in a room.
Worse. He's a tiny, frail.
Well, he's not frail.
Number.
He's pale.
Yeah,
not frail. He's a
pale number crunching.
Yeah, with his canary wife, it's nice. So, by 1965, they have 1963, they have a daughter.
Great.
A little girl is, they're starting a family. A little girl named Krista. So she's, in her twos by 1965 here. There. His work day, the general thing that he would do, he'd start work at about 8:30 in the morning. I almost said 11:30 for some reason, but 8:30 in the morning. 8:30 sounds too early. Let's get him in there about 11:30.
Get him in well rested.
Tell you what, have lunch and then go in. Why don't you do that? I think that way you don't have to take a lunch break. It'll be better for everybody. He leaves the house a little before 8. The office is about 30 miles away. So it takes him about a half hour to get there. He hardly ever comes home for lunch because he usually only takes about a half hour, and it takes a half hour each direction. So what are you going to do? So he never really goes for lunch, and he doesn't come home for dinner. He stays out for dinner, away from home 3 or 4 nights a week.
Wow.
We'll find out.
That?
Well, he tells Dorothy he's got to work late. He's got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Not only does he have the brick company work, but then he has a couple of side jobs that he does while he's down there too. And, hey, I'm making the money over here. And in 1965, you go, okay, dear. And then you take diet pills and, vacuum while you're on speed. That's how it worked. Yeah. And then if you complained about it, the doctor would give you cheer up, bitch. That's what you'd get, as we talked about. So, and then
I don't understand how you can, doesn't sound like Arn wants to be married.
Well, it's funny. Yeah, he can come home at like 9 o'clock and sit and drink booze and everybody's fine with it. Like that's the 60s. It's very weird.
What a great time for a man.
If you're a guy, it's a very easy time for a guy to, you have to work. That's all you have to do. They'll say he just works so hard. That's what they'll say. Outside of that, you really didn't have to do very much except for work and keep that lawn mowed and you were fine. Nobody cared otherwise.
Put on some short shorts with tall socks and get out there.
No, you put dress pants on to mow the lawn. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, well, yeah, keep the lawn mowed, the car waxed, and then that's fine. That's your job. It's weird. Wow. So he would tell Dorothy that he had to work late all the time, and so she would have the baby. He left at 8 in the morning, and she'd have the baby. He'd come home, sometimes 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and she was just still with the baby. She had a car, so she wasn't trapped there. It's a rural area, as we'll talk about. On this street, there's like 2 houses, so not a lot going on this rural area street. So she really only traveled to go to the store in town would be the only place she'd go. She went, or maybe to her parents' home, possibly to visit them. She'd go to the Hayes store all the time. It was the only general store in East Heartland, and it was owned and operated by like several generations of family. It's one of those. Basically, they had Norwegian things there that she liked. They I was like, what's Norwegian? And they say, including reindeer meatballs.
Oh, okay.
Fish cake things, fruktkompote, I don't know, Norwegian fruit desserts, and some apricot prune thing, which sounds pretty gross. Either way.
Norwegian food doesn't sound appetizing.
No, that's where she went grocery shopping. So, I don't know. Maybe that's why I stayed out 3 or 4 nights a week. Every fucking time I come home on time, we're having Norwegian food. I don't want reindeer balls. I don't want them. How's that?
It's hard to crunch numbers all day to come home to eat fucking Santa's.
Lutefisk. I don't want it.
Santa's friends.
Yeah, I want none of what this is. Please, Jesus Christ.
Tired of eating fucking. Rudolph is gross.
So yeah, I guess apparently she has a very strict routine. Dottie does here. Her mother said that her daughter telephones her every single day at 8:20 in the morning.
Yeah.
8:20 and then at 10:20 a.m. and then later at 3:50 she calls.
3 times a day she's calling her mom?
She calls her mom every day, 3 times a day at 8:20, 10:20, and 3:50.
Those are odd numbers.
Not around 8:30, around 10:30, and around 4. 8:20, 10:20, 3:50. That's how fucking very scrupulous she is, Dottie. So yeah, they now on one day here that we'll talk about, June 15th, 1965. She gets the 8:20 and the 10:20, but then doesn't get the 3:50 from her, and she was like, "How dare you not call me for the 3:50? Jesus Christ!" So she had special times for doing certain things, her mother said, all the time. She'd have lunch at 11:50 a.m. She like a television programmer or something? She's very we need to get to commercial break. It's 8:50. We're going into the fucking bottom quarter of the hour.
We're really up against it.
What is? Yeah, we're up against it. Come on, pick it up here. She'd feed her daughter 5 minutes after that, apparently, for some reason, and then put Krista in for her midday nap, Jimmy, 1:15 p.m. That's it.
She schedules like a high school schedules each class.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like it's
Every
like a bus
50
schedule.
minutes.
Yeah, she used to work for Greyhound. Sounds like. So then she would wake the child up precisely 3 p.m. So 1:15 to 3 p.m. Hour 45. So every day, if you just sit around and you have every day with this baby, though, you probably start to get in this routine where you're like, she needs exactly an hour 45 of sleep, or else any more, she's all grumpy. Any less, she's all grumpy. So that's what it is with kids. They're the same if they're tired or overslept, either one. Yeah. So that's what she does, though. The house they live in here, kind of need to describe the house because this has been what they've been working on for a while now. Arnfinn spent all of his nights and weekends when he wasn't out having non-Norwegian dinners on the road here.
Right.
He spent all of his time working on the house. And it's a small Cape Cod house. It's 24 feet by 34 feet are the dimensions of the house.
Yeah.
Nice clapboard exterior, one of those deals with the stone front and things. Pretty nice. But they're finishing it up. They've been building this house. It had nice floor plan, dining room, 2 bedrooms and a bathroom on the first floor with a living room. The second floor had 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. And then also a converted, one of the bathrooms and bedrooms is converted into an apartment, like a little mother-in-law suite.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
For Arnfinn's mother. Arnfinn's mother is Agnes Thompson. We'll talk about her.
Here?
Yeah, she's recently moved in. She moved in at the very beginning of 1965, and we'll talk all about Agnes because she's quite the character there. But back to the house quick. There's a full-size basement also that you can walk out of, one of those that has a door that you can leave. Sure. And Arnfinn built it pretty much by himself, the house. Really? Everything except for heating and plumbing work. That he doesn't, that's hard. We all know that. That's you can say, okay, I can measure this and I can cut this and I can nail these things together and that looks like it'll hold. But when you're talking about plumbing, you're like, oh God, if I fuck this up at all, everything's ruined. It's like this is a disaster. You really got to know what you're doing if you're just going to start installing plumbing in the fucking ground.
I got to put a P-trap underground, too? How come nobody tells you that?
One thing's loose, and now there's a huge leak, and then your house will rot into the ground. It's not good. Yeah. So he hires the heating and plumbing work is contracted by a local firm, a guy named Toby Solberg is the guy. And this must be a Norwegian area or something, because his first name is Thordjorn. Goes by Toby.
J?
Thordjorn. Thordjorn.
Whoa.
That's Thordjorn, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's Thordjorn Solberg. So, I don't know, man.
They call me Toby.
They call me Toby because it's easier than Thor. Because I said Thordjorn and people their eyes went fucking, what? Thordjorn.
I can't even spell that based on what you just said.
Let's go by Thor. His name is Thordjorn. Thor is in his name. Drop the Dordjorn and go by Thor. I'm Thor Solberg. That sounds tougher than Toby Solberg.
You got Jon in there. You can just be John.
God. Well, would you rather be Thor or Toby? If you're a guy, go with Thor.
Yeah.
Good God.
Thor's right there.
It's right there. Now, this company, very good reputation of this company. They do good work, and he knows, Arnfinn knows old Toby. I'm calling him Thor from now on. He knows Thor because Thor used to be his landlord before they built this house. That's how it worked. He used to rent a place there. They rented a cottage behind the Solberg property back when they first got married in 1959, Arnfinn and Dottie, and they remained there until they moved into their new home, which was they were building. This is their dream home they're building. Right, it's not a giant, massive dream home, but it's what they wanted. It's exactly how they wanted it. Also, Thordjorn, his son Harry, who's a high school student, also helps in the business after school and also helped out doing a bunch of the things like that, a bunch of the heating and plumbing. And during summer vacation, Harry is his name, Thordjorn's son. Harry would, during summer vacation, would help Arnfinn with the framing of the house from time to time. So one of those. He's not the brightest guy, Harry.
No?
No, he's no Thordjorn. We'll put it that way. He's,
Okay.
I mean, few are, honestly, but Harry is known as kind of a low IQ kind of a fella. He is, at this time, in his 6th year of high school.
Oh, boy.
He's 20. He's still in high school.
What is happening?
He's not very bright, Harry. That's what's happening. He's not a real bright guy. Nice, but not bright. Works for his dad. Drives a 59 Ford car is his car that he drives around. Black. There. So now we'll talk a little bit about Agnes Thompson, mom. Arnfinn's mom, Agnes. She's 64. Like I said, she moved in the beginning of 1965. With Arnfinn, Dottie, and Krista. And she, before that, she moved, where'd she move from? What happened?
Yeah.
Well, she moved from the mental hospital into their house.
Oh.
Okay, yeah. She has had, at some point.
Tough go, huh?
In the last 20 years, Agnes has really lost her mind, pretty much, everybody said. She kind of lost it and goes, periodically, she's in a hospital. In a mental health facility periodically from time to time for years.
Do we know what did it?
We don't know why or anything like that. I don't know if World War II fatigue. I'm not sure, but it's been about.
She's Rosie Rivet.
She was rooting for the Japanese Empire. I don't know. I'm not sure what happened, but pretty much since the fall, since V-Day, it's been VD Day. It's been,
it's been a mess for her.
It's been a mess.
Years.
In and out of institutions and back and forth and that sort of thing. She's just has problems, though. She's never like robbed a liquor store or anything. Okay. She's just got problems, mental problems. But she's out of there for about 6 months, and Agnes and Dorothy get along well enough, but they live in the same house, and anybody who's ever lived with their mother-in-law, it's, even if they're great people, it's still your mother-in-law, you're like, you're great. Easy. It's not easy. So these people here, though, they're not exactly tight or close, Dorothy and Agnes. And
it's tough to get closer and tighter when this woman's got fucking mental issues.
That's the other thing, is they don't know how much of that has to do with that. So June 15th, 1965 is the day that Dottie's mother gets the 820, gets the 1120, but then that 350, where's that? No call. They don't get a call. So she calls, no answer over there. So she's like, oh, if she was going out of the house, she would have told me about it. What the fuck, man? This is ridiculous. She's actually like she's a little upset, a little miffed at Dottie that she would, just be irresponsible like that. So on this day, our guy Arnfinn here, he comes home from work, pulls in the driveway here. He left for home about 5:30. He got the mail stopped at the post office on the mail. Got the mail at about 6:10 and then went right home. Okay. About a few minutes later, he is pounding on his neighbor's door.
Oh, boy.
The Stadlers are their neighbors, and they're just in their house relaxing, about to eat dinner. And all of a sudden, you hear not just a knock like, hey, you want to buy some fucking magazine subscriptions? It's something. It's holy shit. Yeah, there's what's on fire type of knock. Holy fuck. And in this area, people don't just knock on your door. It must be somebody you know, probably, because it's in the middle of nowhere. Right. So they look out and they see it's Arnfinn. Arnfinn lives down the road. So they go, fuck, Arnfinn looks like something's wrong. They open the door, and Arnfinn screams, quote, Dottie's dead in the backyard, and I can't find the baby.
Oh, that's an emergency.
Wow, there's so much. Where do we start with that? What do you address first?
Well done communicating the actual issue. I'm impressed.
That's good. And that's
great.
That's one thing, actually, though, that is actually very telling of what people do is when they call 911, they've done huge studies on 911 analysis calls of basically they can tell if you did it or not by what you say in your 911 call. Yeah. Like
your communication is very telling of what's happening and what's happened.
Exactly. Someone who wants help will say exactly this. Dottie's dead in the backyard. I can't find the baby. They're going to give you the facts. Here it is. They're going to start out. Here's my address. blah, 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 Elm Street, Dottie's dead in the backyard. I can't find the baby. Holy shit. I can't find the baby. That's what they say. Also,
have you seen the baby?
Yeah, repeating yourself isn't good.
Yep.
Asking for help, because you want to ask for help. That's the point. You're trying to get them, make it easier to give them help. You're giving directions to your house, whatever it is, to try to make things quicker. But so that's a good sign. He didn't come up and say some weird shit like, I was walking into the backyard, weirdly enough, and just turned the corner casually. Looked over at this, and what do you know? My wife was dead. He just said.
He doesn't start with, it was self-defense.
No. That's a headline. Dottie's in the bed, dead in the backyard, and I can't find the baby. Okay, these are two problems to work with.
I will start that paragraph.
So now they're like, holy shit, Mr. and Mrs. Stadler here are like, Jesus Christ. They jump up from the dinner table and they, fucking A, they grab him and they're like, try to control yourself. What's going on? And they said, tell us what happened. Like, calm down, because he's freaking out. So he starts telling them what he found back there, and we'll talk about that in a minute. As soon as Mrs. Stadler hears this, overhears it at the door, she immediately calls the state police.
Yeah,
obviously, and then they all go across the road to the house, to Arnfinn's house, to investigate. They don't wait for the cops; they go to investigate because they're looking for the baby at this point.
Yeah.
So
right.
That's investigation. Be damned. Let's find the baby. So now Dottie, when they find her, is lying on the ground in the backyard. There's a sun deck they're building in the back. It's not finished yet. It doesn't have it's just the deck part at this point. It doesn't have stairs leading up to it. They've been using a step ladder.
Oh, Jesus.
To get up and down.
Elevated landing?
That's all it is at this point. Yeah, there's no anything like that because it's just not finished yet. So they find her. That's where she's dead out there, and we'll tell you all about it in a second here. But
on the landing?
Sort of, kind of hanging off the landing, as we'll see. There's an electrical cord involved, and there's some. This is a brutal scene, man. This is brutal. So either way, Mr. Statler runs around searching the house for the baby. Yeah, we'll talk about it. The original thought is because he says he came in, looked for Dottie, couldn't find her, and thought maybe she's out back with the baby. That's what's, and then he saw this and he said, "Oh my God, maybe somebody attacked her in the backyard," and then the baby wandered off into the woods. So that's the thought here. And that's the Stadlers don't know. They're just running around trying to find a baby. This is trying to put a fire out with a fucking thing of Visine. You know what I mean? You're strategically trying to look where to put drops of water on a fire. Like, what do I do here? There's a lot going on. So eventually, though, Mr. Stadler, in the last place he looks, finds the baby safe and sound upstairs with Grandma, with Agnes sitting up there, just hanging out, calm as can be, calm as a lamb. So he's like, okay, well, that's problem A solved. That's good.
That's helpful. Yeah.
Baby's alive. That's helpful. Mother's not dead. That's good.
Right. Nana's got him.
Absolutely. So the police, when they show up, right away they're saying, well, where the hell were you today? Obviously. Yeah. They start asking him questions like that, and he said he was at work with two fellow employees that were with him all day long. Arnfinn said he left for home at about 5:30, stopped at the post office, collected his mail at about 6:10, and went right home. Said he parked his car in the driveway, entered the house through the front door, and went through the hall into the kitchen. And next, he says, so they're like, so you entered the kitchen. Was there anything you observed? And he said, yes, a pool of blood. It was blood all over.
Wow.
There is blood fucking everywhere. I'm talking everywhere. And there's good reason for it. So they say it was all over the kitchen. It was all over the floor and furniture. He said on the floor, on the counter, on the furniture, everywhere. They later on find an eyeball, Jimmy. So that's not a good find. Nobody wants to step on the eyeball. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So that means somebody's missing one.
That's the problem. They said, well, you saw the blood. What'd you do? And he said, I went upstairs. I asked my mother what happened. And they said, your mother was upstairs. Now, he didn't see the baby, though. The baby wasn't with his mother when he went up to say what the fuck's going on in the house. Because he saw the blood, went up and asked his mother what's going on, and the baby wasn't around. And the mother said, I don't know. She said she thought Dottie had gone with her brother and left. She's like, I don't think Dottie's even here. So he's very confused. Then somehow Agnes comes up with the baby later on. Yeah. So that's weird. So he said at that point, after they'd seen the body and all that, he went downstairs to call Dottie's mother.
Yeah.
and to tell her what's going on, which is call the cops first. You call her mother first.
Why are we calling mom?
Yeah. So she called Dottie's mom, Annie, and there's obviously the regular 3 times a day call that she thinks something's wrong anyway. And so she said he told Dottie what happened and
told Annie
what happened to Dottie. Dottie said she hadn't heard, or Annie said she hadn't heard from Dottie since the morning. Annie starts crying and says to call back when you find something out of what's going on. Then he said, this is before they find the body. Mind, he hasn't found the body yet. He's talked to his mom. He's called Annie to say, do you know where Dottie is? And she said, no, she didn't call me. And she's all crying. Call me back when you find her. So Arnfinn said, then I take a good look at the room and I could see a trail of blood going out to the dining room. It led out to the glass doors onto the porch. Yeah. So now he's just following a blood trail here. Again, police probably, but you don't know if your wife is alive and injured, though. That's the problem. So you want to help her and find her if you're a decent person at that point. So he said, I looked down and I saw her lying there once he got out on the porch. And he said on the ground below the porch. And it was basically, they asked how far off a perpendicular was it from when you observed her to the top of the porch where you were standing? What's the distance between her body and the porch? And he said about 8 feet.
Jesus, that's a long drop.
And they said that's when you saw her. And he said she was right there on the edge of it. She was like on the edge of the sun deck. Yeah. So anyway, he ended up going around to the front door once he found her. Because he could to go out. To leave, he went back through the house out the front door because he said that it was a drop down. He didn't want to jump. I think if you find your wife kind of dangling, I think you jump down 8 feet, don't you?
I don't
8 feet's not very far. No, that's not a big jump for a 32-year-old. I could see if he was 75 or something, but there was a step ladder, and he said he was going to use that, but he was a little shaky at the time, so he didn't want to try to use the step ladder.
Sure.
Bullshit. Again, you jump off if the step ladder's shaky. Who cares? You throw that thing aside and go run to your. That's
well,
not
you
a
can
good
slide
reaction.
your belly over and kind of drop yourself down with your hands.
Yeah,
and it's just a 2-foot drop.
It's like a 3. Yeah, that's what I mean. Even if you're short, it's not that bad of a drop. I don't know what the hell this guy's doing. Instead, he went all the way through the house, out the front door, and around, which is very weird. And so he did that, and at that point, he said he touched her and she was cold. And everything like that. And they said, was she dead at the time? And he said, oh, yeah, she was dead. And he said that's when he realized he hadn't seen his daughter around because he was distracted by the blood. He started calling for her and got no response. And that's when he ran across the street to the neighbors, got them. They came back, looked at the body, and
makes sense.
And dude went and talked and found the baby, helped him find the baby. So Stadler's here. Carol Stadler said the neighbor said she'd better call the police, and they did, and called the police, and they're back there waiting for the police at this point. Okay. So either way, they found the baby. The baby's safe. What they'll find out is that Dorothy Thompson, Dottie, was apparently ironing in a small room off the kitchen when she was attacked here. Now, do you know what a nail set is?
Yeah, I mean, you go to the manicurist and get it done.
Exactly. That's what I thought too. That's why I had to clip out what a nail set was, because I'm like, like a full set? We doing fills? Yeah. What are we doing here? Sorry, my mother used to do nails, so I know way too much about that. So yeah, they said a nail set here is it's a tool. A nail set's a metal tool used to finish in carpentry work, measuring approximately 3 inches in length and similar in appearance to a ballpoint pen.
Yep, it's the thing that pushes. So if the nail goes in, it's for like brads and such. You got to get it deeper so that you can finish the wood so that it disappears in there.
Exactly, so you can flush it. So once a nail is driven into wood so that the head of the nail is within approximately 1/32 of an inch from the surface, the pointed end of the nail set's placed on the head of the nail, and you hit it with a hammer, drives it below the wooded surface, and then you could fill it with wood putty, and it looks all smooth. There you go. So a nail set, that's important to know what this is because it's involved in this murder, unfortunately.
Oh, my God.
There's bad things involved in this murder, Jimmy. Okay, let's see. State Police Captain Thomas O'Brien and Dr. Owen Murphy, the medical examiner, respond to the call. Yeah. Dottie had been stabbed in the back, throat, and chest with a large meat carving fork. Like,
the two-pronger.
The two-prong that you would, hold with the turkey in place while you carve it. One of those.
Right. Jesus.
Her skull was crushed. Yeah, skull crushed. One of her eyeballs had popped out.
Yep.
And was not around. And the other eye socket completely collapsed. That side of her face was completely crushed in, and the other eyeball was not in her head. That's right away super brutal. Then they figure out initially she was also hanged by the neck with an electrical cord while the body was suspended over the edge of the sun deck. Someone hung her off the side of the sun deck with a fucking electrical cord.
Before or after?
That's after. After they crushed her skull to a point of an eyeball coming out and the other side being crushed in, and stabbed her several times all over her upper body, head and neck with a giant carving fork.
Somebody is mad at her.
That's what I mean. Apparently the weight of her body was too much for the kind of a makeshift noose that they tried to make out of an electrical cord, which was attached to the deck by the nail set. So when they pulled the nail set out, the body drops about 10 feet to the ground.
Wow.
After that, because she's hanging off, and then she just falls to the ground once it pops out. So it was being held by there. So that's wild.
Somebody drove the nail set through the rope, through the electrical cord into the wood.
Yeah, to keep her there. To that was the staging of it. Basically, it looked like that was she's hung off the side of a deck by a fucking electrical cord.
Right.
Which is terrifying to find with a skull crushed like that, wounds all over her. It's horrible. The doctor also said that the blows to the skull were made with a small sledgehammer.
Oh, like a 5-pounder.
Fuck, it's a 4-pounder is what we're going to find here. Also, the stomach and lower part of her body, even, we're talking lower thorax region here, was crushed with a rock.
Why?
They found a 19-pound boulder nearby that they believe, with blood all over it, that they think it was repeatedly bashed and crushed all of her fucking hip and everything like that with this giant rock.
What could she have done?
This is fucking, I mean, dude,
That's
this is
so much.
This is as horrible as you can get. I mean, she's killed 3 times.
Right.
Fork,
she's killed so
skull,
many times.
4, then the rock, and then hung off the side of the thing. She's 4 different murders in this one murder. Like, what? Dude, this is what they did to Omar's boyfriend on The Wire.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is literally what they did to him. Like, they found him, an eye popped out and shit. But honestly, it was less brutal. He was less fucked up.
Right.
And, he was snitching.
Treating her like a dictator that got their country into war.
Yeah, this is goddamn insane. So they said that they figured out she was ironing because there was a shirt partially ironed still on the ironing board. She was halfway through ironing one of Arnfinn's shirts there. 3 of the 5 rooms on the first floor were splattered with blood everywhere. Yeah. Spattered, and spatter is the official, but there's a shitload of it. I'm calling it splatter because it's it's fucking splatter, not even like a scientific thing. Large pool of blood on the kitchen floor extending to the adjoining rooms and onto the sun deck. That's how much fucking blood is here. It's obvious from the streaks that the body was obviously dragged through the house onto the sun deck, and you can see how it all happened. You can see the progression from ironing to being hung off of the deck. Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you a little bit more about our stylish friends at Quince. That's right, let's go elevate your styles, people. Yeah. Get it going, look good out there, and you can do it now without breaking your wallet, without breaking the bank, because at Quince, you can get high-end, versatile pieces at prices we can all actually afford, which is very nice. You want to get good stuff that lasts and it's good, and they have quality stuff that's very affordable, and you can do like we did, upgrading our stuff here, while still being a very reasonable price. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, responsible manufacturing practices, along with premium fabrics and finishes. It's all quality stuff. You're going to love it. Trust us, it looks good. And I've got the leather jacket. It's a very high quality item. Real nice, soft leather. Yeah. Jimmie's got his linen pants he's rocking.
Yeah. They're terrific.
Come on, be like us, be fashionable, get in there with Quince, indulge in affordable luxury. Go to quince.com/smalltownmurder for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/smalltownmurder to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you a little bit about a very cool place, Thrive Market. Yes, we are both looking to get into the healthy swing this year. The problem is I don't know what's in everything, and I don't know if even I'm qualified to even read the labels to know if that's good or that's bad.
Right.
There's chemicals and things, and there's things floating around. I don't know what I'm doing out there. One of my favorite features, and I know you were talking to me about this, is the Healthy Swap Scanner in the Thrive Market app. Yeah, it's simple. You scan any item, and it'll instantly suggest a cleaner, healthier grocery alternative, which is
it's great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's great. Thrive Market also takes the guesswork out of finding these safe, healthy foods. For example, like I'm trying to get my protein intake up for energy. I'm always moving around. I need stuff, and I love that you can filter their site by the high protein options.
Nice.
It's very cool, and you can personalize this portion, and you can put filters on it. And get ready. You should be ready for a junk-free start to 2025. Get ready for it and head to thrivemarket.com/smalltownmurder and get 30% off your first order plus a free $60 gift. That's THRIVE market.com/smalltownmurder, thrivemarket.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
So, yeah, stabbed in the back and elsewhere with the table and carving forks. They figure there's multiple forks involved too here. Large ones, beaten about the head with a hammer, small sledgehammer, and then hung by a cord suspended from a sun porch and beaten with a fucking rock as well. So this is some shit, man. So he, at some point during all this too, when they were upstairs, he gets the baby from his mother, gets Krista, and then he gives a blanket to his neighbor and says, cover her up out there. Go put this blanket on her. Cover her up, which is just an instinct people have with loved ones. They want to cover them and they don't want them to be exposed to the, nobody wants that. That's terrible.
Get rid of the dignity.
You want to
retain the dignity.
Yeah. And then at the same time, also, murderers do that too, to cover up their, like a dog, putting dirt on his shit. You know what I mean? Right. It's the same thing. So either way, they come and the officers go upstairs and they escort Agnes and Krista downstairs. Agnes is still holding Krista. And now they ask the other guys here, Stadler, and they talk to Stadler a lot because he's not involved in this. You know what I mean? He's the neighbor.
Husband, yeah. Oh, so the neighbor. Yeah.
So they asked Stadler about what Arnfinn did and said. You know what I mean? Because obviously he's the number one suspect at this point. He found her. So they haven't checked his alibi or any of that stuff. So they don't know if he's completely, bulletproof on that. So they just need to eliminate him right away. So they asked Stadler because he found the baby with Agnes.
Right.
They said, well, what did she say when you found her, when you found Agnes? And apparently Agnes said to Mr. Stadler, quote, "Is she dead yet?" That's what she said when Stadler opened up the door. Is she dead yet?
Oh, boy.
That's the first thing. So that is fucking weird. Yeah, and he said, quote, later on they said, did she really say that? And he said, yes, she volunteered that information right out of the blue sky. He just said hello, and she said, is she dead yet? Which is a little suspicious.
Yeah.
Another state trooper came and assisted the doctor in removing the body from the yard. Seems like, no, that's not what you would do. At this point, you get about 6 homicide detectives to fucking cordon this bitch off, and then in ever smaller circles come closer to the body and look at it for a couple hours and make sure your crime scene's done.
Yeah.
They had one cop, they brought in a fucking doctor to go, yep, that's what happened, bring her out, and then just fucking moved her along.
You feel like you'd exhaust.
Wow.
Do we have any more film yet? Keep taking pictures till we don't have any left.
Yeah, what the fuck, man? They immediately cut her down from the cord, pulled the nail set out, and no, don't do that either, because there could be valuable evidence on her that you're knocking off. This is important shit. So either way, He said that when they got there, they said they couldn't find the baby. Obviously, he was explaining to the cops, Arnfinn was, that we couldn't find the baby. I was looking for the baby, and all that kind of shit, and whatever. So now, later on, when the cops talk to Agnes, and Agnes acts like she has no idea what happened in this house at all.
This had to be so loud, Ag. What the shit?
And she told her son that she didn't know. She said she thought Dottie went with her brother somewhere.
Right.
And then she tells the neighbor, is she dead yet? So there's a lot of different things going on from her stories already. Just from
loads of questions. Yeah.
Just from talking to a few people. Now they ask Arnfinn, is there anything missing in the house? Mm-hmm. Look around, which is exact opposite of what you want someone to do. You want a potential murder suspect to go ahead and have access to the murder scene and go really traipse around, though. Get your footprints everywhere. Try to touch as many things as possible.
A lot of things.
If you find something, if you find a fork, pick it up, maybe jizz on it, stick it up your ass. Really befoul it is what we're getting at. We want to have no physical evidence whatsoever. So
any serving forks, really give yourself a COVID test with it.
Just throw it out in the woods. Tell you what, just chuck it out in the woods. We don't even want to look at it. So, again, this police work is terrible, and it's 1965 too. There's not, I don't know. It seems like the last 40 to 50 years, once serial killers started in like the 70s, cops figured out we have to get organized in how we investigate dead people. Like we have to have like a fucking plan and what we're going to do. We don't just show up and go, wow, that's pretty disgusting. Well, get her on out of here, and we'll start mopping that shit up. That's gross. Like they're actually trying.
Stockton, California, caught a serial killer in no time flat, and then didn't even like brag about it. That's how advanced we are now. Yeah, like it was so low key that they caught that fucking guy just this weekend. They caught him. Well, didn't say shit.
Now they have touch DNA, so now you don't even have to fucking jizz on something.
Right.
Now you can have just touched something.
Couple of skin cells. We
no
got
fingerprints. You leaned your back of your hand on it. You're fucked now. So between that and cell stuff being so exact, and you documenting everywhere you are, and everybody having a GPS in their pocket, it's how would you not catch murderers now? You almost have to fucking.
This guy was just wandering around shooting people. Not even like. No, like sexual aspect of it or anything. Just like shooting people and walking away. They caught him.
That's wild.
It took him 6 months, but they caught him on Saturday. Didn't say shit until yesterday, and they're like, "Yeah, we got him for everything, so it's gonna be good." That's it.
That's it. All right. Well, good for you.
I don't know how the fuck they did it, or they're not even saying. They're just like, "Yeah, we got him. It's done."
We got him. No worries. All right then. Streets are safe, everybody.
Unbelievable.
Turn your porch lights off. Okay.
Unreal.
Everyone return your Dobermans. So
it's all fixed. Yeah.
All fixed.
That thing's going to shit a lot. You can take it back.
You don't even like that dog. It's got a weird thin head. So they say, is anything missing at all? And the only thing he says that's missing in the entire house that he can figure is a piggy bank.
No.
A plastic. He describes it as pink plastic and about a foot long piggy bank. It's a fucking pink pig made of plastic.
It's got $11 in it. All this for $11.
He puts it's for his daughter Krista, and if he has change at the end of the day, he'll throw it in the piggy bank.
Sure,
that's how it works, and it's for Krista to do whatever the fuck. So they said it was there. You're sure it was there when you left in the morning? And he said, I think it was on the coffee table. It was either on the coffee table or on the raised hearth fireplace, one of the two, around there. Okay. So they said, but it's not here now. And he said, I can't find it anywhere. Nowhere here. So he said, I used to give my daughter some coins. She would put them in there. And they said, do you know how much money was in there? He said, Jesus, I don't know. It's a fucking bunch of change. He'd say somewhere between maybe $20, maybe.
Yeah.
Somewhere between $15 and $25. Who knows? It's coins. Like, you don't keep track. He said it's all coins and everything like that. So they asked him, what did you do after you got Mr. Stadler? And he said, I called Dottie's mother. And they said, you called Dottie's mother? And he said, yeah. They're like, okay. I guess the cops had already been called by the people across the street. So at that point, he's making notifications now. He's not even bothering with that. And they said, well, what'd you tell her? He says, quote, I told her she was dead. I guess I wasn't too tactful. I don't remember what I said, but I told her Dottie was dead. Hi. You know how you've been looking for Dottie? Well, she's dead. So, there's that. Remember how I called you 5 minutes ago, said I can't find her? Good news, bad news. Not good.
Her.
Yeah. She's not in good shape. So, he says that they said, did you remain in the house for a long length of time after you called the mother and everybody kind of gathered? And he said, yes. And they said, for how long? Until the police came. I'd be in the front yard. I don't want to sit around with the bloody remnants of my wife. I don't want to see that.
I don't want to see my wife's eyeball.
No. They said, well, what did you do while you were in there? He said, quote, I poured myself a couple of good shots.
Jesus.
He's drinking. Which I suppose you would, that's the time, when do you need a shot? It's then.
That's the time, yeah.
At the same time, wouldn't you go, that's not going to look good. If I'm fucking, I got a highball glass when they come in here and I'm like, officers, can I mix you a fucking martini? My wife, oh yeah, that's my wife's eyeball. You kick that aside. What are you fucking kidding me? So they said between the time you arrived on the scene from work and the time the police arrived at first, was there anything around there, anything set aside or disturbed in any way? Did you move anything or clean up any blood, or did you fuck with the crime scene at all besides drinking liquor? And he said, no, not at all. And that was that. So, yeah, at first, though, the whole thing was that Krista was lost in some woods. So that's what, people were thinking at first. They were going to have to go look through the fucking woods. Mr. Stadler said, I went over to look at her and she was dead. Jesus Christ, that's rough here. So he said he took the bedspread and covered it and covered Dottie's body up. Right. And then after that, Agnes Thompson appeared at the top of the staircase and said, is she dead yet? So there was, holy shit. So she carried Krista downstairs, and Agnes wanted to accompany them outside to look at Dottie, and they wouldn't let her. They told her she had to stay inside. So, that's fucking amazing. So anyway, there's another doctor here, Dr. Murphy. Or no, Mr. Murphy's a different guy. He is a doctor. He did the examination, and he saw signs of where the fork had been stuck exactly and did all of that. Said there was massive blood over the right eye and left side of the face, small pool of blood near an ironing board, and a streak of blood on the floor that we talked about. And he observed the electrical cord around the waist. So also, the cord was taken from the toaster, and the toaster was found near her feet, near Dottie's feet.
Okay.
So they took the toaster outside, ripped the toaster off, threw it down off the deck, and did this. Wow. Yeah. So then they also end up finding a large blood-stained hammer in the woods at the rear of the house.
That's the
later on
sledge.
It's a 4-pound hammer with an 18-inch handle. It's a big fucking hammer.
Sure is. Yeah.
Big old hammer. So they do a house-to-house investigation starting immediately, but nobody within any. There's not a lot of people around here, and any of the people around here didn't see anything unusual. They don't really. They're all spread out. They didn't see anything. It was other than the Stadlers. There's not a lot of neighbors in this area. The state troopers, so they have a lot of area to cover, and they found out. They said there wasn't a stranger in sight, any automobiles going up and down the road. So the only signs of life we could find were cows grazing and ponies running around and shit. That was all they could find. They said it was also 2 days before school got out for summer vacation. So, nobody was paying any attention to anything here. It was just a lot going on. Summertime in the Northeast is nice. Mm-hmm. So the evidence here, what they can find, is a large blood-stained hammer 110 feet to the rear of the house. The captain of the police force described it as a stone hammer. Sorry, it's a 5-pounder with a wood handle 18 inches long.
Okay.
They also found a red earring and a white blood-stained shoelace in the driveway.
A shoelace taken out of a shoe?
A shoelace from a shoe with blood stains on it and an earring in the driveway.
Huh.
Which is very strange because Dottie was never in the driveway. She was dragged out the back of the house. So it's an odd thing here.
And the hammer is way the fuck out in the woods.
110 feet in the back. Yeah, it's way back there. It's. I guess that's not that far. If a porch, woods.
Yeah, but you can't whip that 100 feet away. Not 5-pound hammer.
You could go to the edge of the woods and throw it and probably get it to 110 feet from the house, I bet. 5-pound hammer will go pretty far. If you underhand that bitch, that thing will fly.
That's a tough throw, though.
Yeah, I think it would. You could throw it 50 feet, I bet.
Maybe, yeah, I guess.
Probably, if you had a good
know
whip
how-
on it. Or you could just walk into the woods and place it there. That's the other thing you could do.
I think I don't know my own strength, James. I don't know. I don't know what I'm capable of.
If you really just did like a side deal, like
Yeah.
one of those, like people do like a discus type deal, I think you could really whip that fucker.
Really got to get some shoulder into it.
Yeah, some body. You get some body into that bad boy. Put your legs into it. That's what you need
But
to
if
do.
you're trying to get rid of a murder weapon, probably could.
You probably could. Or like I said, you could walk into the woods and just put it there.
That too.
You know?
But then you got to get all the way around the other side of the house to get rid of a shoestring and an earring.
And an earring. That's what I mean. It's a very odd setup. Who's
Yeah.
doing this? It's almost like the house is the central of those. You
Yeah.
could go out the back and throw that and out the front to do that. But then
Right.
the whole, I don't know.
How
It's
do you
weird.
do both at the same?
It's odd.
It's got to be two people.
Or it could be somebody going out there throwing that, and then when they're leaving, dropping the shoelace or the thing. Or with this fucking brilliant crew, the shoelace and the earring could have been stuck to somebody, one of the crime scene people's shoes, and they just dropped it out there and fell off. And they're like, "Oh, I found a shoelace out here." They're not real fucking. It's not like they're going over this with a fine-tooth comb here. This seems pretty.
They're wallowing in the crime scene. Maybe it fell off somebody's shoulder.
This is just from the hip here.
Yeah.
You know, cut her down. What? Hold on. So this town freaks out because this is the first murder in this town since 1914.
And we're
First
looking
murder.
at the fucking 60s right now?
51 years they haven't had a murder in this town, and then this happens, and that's why they have no idea what the fuck to do with it whatsoever, because these people haven't everybody on this police force has never investigated a murder.
Right.
If you've worked for this town's police force, the state troopers probably have, but if they work in this area, probably not a lot of them. Anyway, so at that time in 1914, the county commissioner, Hubert B. Case, was murdered in his store. At that point, he was attacked and died the next day, and two suspects were convicted of the crime and hanged a year later. So,
Wow.
a little different. Now, his neighbors and friends, not that guy, this guy, back to Arnfinn.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's going around going, who could have done this to Dottie? What the fuck? People are saying you can imagine the rumors. They're like, well, it must have been Arnfinn, and we'll talk about why, because Arnfinn's been stepping out with another lady.
Oh.
So we're thinking Arnfinn's got this dream house, and he loves his daughter and all that, and the only thing he's seems to want an upgrade on is the lady in his life, or what he thinks is an upgrade. So they're thinking maybe it's Arnfinn, or maybe a lot of people think it's Agnes, too. They said, but then they say that the doors were locked when Arnfinn got home. So they're like, why would she keep the doors locked if she was afraid of her mother-in-law? One neighbor said if she was afraid of her, why would she keep herself locked in there with her? Right. Wouldn't you keep the doors unlocked so you can make a quick getaway if you're scared of your mother-in-law? One woman said, if I were afraid of someone who was living in my house, I would keep the doors unlocked so if there was trouble, I could grab my baby and run.
Solid.
Yeah, and there you go. And so another woman said, I've heard that Dottie was afraid of Agnes, but would a woman as meticulous as Agnes make such a mess? Because it's a huge mess. Well, she wasn't worried about cleaning if she was murdering someone, probably.
It also feels like a rage incident, and you get messy in rages.
That's the other thing. By the way, Agnes is 5 foot tall, 115 pounds.
Yeah.
And 64 years old. And it sounds like a real Wolverine. I mean, capable of anything. So they said, would she be able to stay there afterward all afternoon and look at the blood all over the floors? No. And they also, the consensus is, one lady says, if Krista saw her grandmother kill her mother, she'd be scared of her, wouldn't she? Right. Yeah. She said she wouldn't let her grandmother touch her. She'd probably, and she was holding her perfectly calm when they found her. They said nobody would want to stay with a person who hurt their mom a minute ago. So they said, what did she see? The only thing that Krista will say about it, the whole entire thing, and she's 2, mind you, 2.5. She did see something, though.
Really?
Because all she keeps repeating when they ask her anything, she says, she killed her, she killed her.
Oh, my, she knows what that means.
She killed her, she killed her. Yeah, that's what she says, which is weird for a 2-year-old to say.
Right.
Now, she killed her is awfully suspicious.
Revealing, yeah.
But at the same time, a 2-year-old fucks up pronouns all the time.
Right.
2-year-olds are fucking stupid. Their brains aren't developed yet. They're morons.
Yeah.
Your dog is smarter than a 2-year-old, literally.
That seems right.
It's true. A dog is equivalent to about a 4-year-old child, like a smart dog, but a 4-year-old child. Then their brains really start developing after that. That's why we don't send them to school till they're like 5, because before that, it's all mush in there. So
before that, they're just peeing on walls and stuff.
Yeah. So she killed her. So they were like, that was all very suspicious and everything like that. They live on Route 179. It's a dark, hilly, curvy country road. There's no traffic. There's no anything like that. One lady said one night she was driving home about midnight and a man ran cut her off in her car, in his car, and was waving for her to stop. And she was trying to pass him, and he kept fucking like blocking her way. And so she ended up finally gassing it and getting by him. But she said, so maybe that was that guy. Maybe he's like in the area trying to kill women in the area or something. So she doesn't remember what kind of car it was, no license plate, and the description is a man. So not good. That's not a good one. We're looking for a man or an old mentally challenged woman. We're looking for one of those two things. Those are our what the fuck. So either way, eventually the crime scene's cordoned off by the state troopers to prevent everyone else who's been fucking walking all around the crime scene to stop doing it, basically. So they cut all that off. Krista spends the night with her aunt and uncle in New Hartford because, that's a good move. Yeah. Agnes is escorted by a policewoman and 2 state troopers to the Connecticut Valley Mental Hospital in Middletown. She's
going back.
She's going back to the hospital tonight, apparently. I don't know what's going on. They said she's a suspect because she was in the house at the time, but she's not really all there. So they're going to take her to the hospital and see if she's capable of talking about this, essentially. So either way, this took forever because of all the distance of the farms and everything like that. Even the Statlers are across the street, but it's still a good distance to walk. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now, Agnes has, like I said, she's at this point a patient at the Connecticut Valley Hospital in Middletown, and they ask Arnfinn, what was her attitude when you talked to her? What was your mom's attitude about Dottie dying when you told her? And he said, quote, just a glassy stare. Oh. And they said, was it one of indifference? And he said, I would say so, sort of, yes. So kind of. Holy Christ, man. Now, Mr. Stadler told investigators that he observed a green car in the driveway at one point, saying in the house. He said it might have been her boyfriend. Now, I think he's assuming that that's Dottie as a boyfriend.
What a wild jump. What?
Yeah. I saw a green car. Now, I don't know if he's trying to protect his friend, Arnfinn, or what's going on here, but he said that he initially went looking for the baby in the backyard because they were like, well, didn't Arnfinn get you out of the house? And he said, well, yeah, me and my wife went and looked for the baby in the backyard. Where was he? He was in the house. So they're like, so he cleared you out of the crime scene and then had alone access to the crime scene after that. I guess so. So that's what they figure out. So everybody looks guilty.
No kidding.
Everybody. The green car looks guilty. Yeah. Agnes looks guilty. Arnfinn looks guilty. I'm starting to wonder about the Stadlers at this point. Everybody's looking guilty. What did Krista know? What did she know and when did she know it? I'm starting to think maybe
it's a bad baby.
She could be just a terrible baby. Yeah. Problem child had to start somewhere, right?
It did, yeah.
So either way, the coroner, let's get some coroner answers here. Some coronial answers, we'll call it. He comes in here, H. Gibson Guyan, that's his name, H. Gibson Guyan. He's the county coroner. He issues a finding that he thinks, based on, this is what's weird, okay? They do a coroner's inquest. Rather than now a homicide detective, well, you'll get like the medical examiner to say whether they think it's a homicide or not. Right. That's what they get. Then homicide detectives work out what they think happened. Back then, you do a coroner's inquest, and a coroner would tell you what he thought happened, and then the detectives would kind of go off of that.
Go out and try to prove that.
Which seems there's an extra step in there. Then they figured out, hey, we can do this faster if the detectives just do this, rather than waiting for him and...
Yeah, but not just faster, but more accurately, because if you've just got a guy that he doesn't see anything that's in the room. He's just there going, this is what happened to this body, so this is probably what happened. Now I've got to go try to corroborate that? Well, how about the evidence doesn't support that, friend?
And I think they figured out the whole first 48 thing, too. Like, hey, it's pretty important to get this information fast and not just to stand around going, well, I don't know, shit. Let's pick around some theories. So he says, the coroner says that the evidence in the light in which I view it is wholly circumstantial, but he also says, I have not made a finding in this case of not guilty by reason of insanity, although I find Agnes was a mentally ill person on there and had been mentally ill for a long time prior to that date. But he says that she is the person he holds criminally responsible for this, is Agnes. That's the coroner. The coroner says it's the mother-in-law that did it 100%. Is
it his job to name a suspect, or is it his job to tell us what happened?
Oh, July 16th, a coroner's warrant calling. What? I've never heard of a coroner's warrant before.
Why does the coroner have so much fucking power?
I don't know. I don't know. This is the coroner used to be a very powerful guy in like a rural area too.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is crazy though. They issued a coroner's
the crime scene.
Based on the body. He's not, wow, what kind of an expertise? He's not interrogating anyone. Right. He's not doing anything like that.
Making wild-ass accusations.
So he issued a coroner's warrant calling Agnes Thompson criminally suspect in the murder. The warrant was lodged at the Connecticut Valley Hospital, but the coroner said that the warrant would only hold for 24 hours after an inquest finding is released. So he also said, in a sense, the issue presents a problem in that it's hard to determine the exact cause of death. On the other hand, there could be no doubt that the victim met a violent death at the hands of another person. It will serve no useful purpose to detail the multiple injuries inflicted. This is what he inflicted. This is in the report. Stab wounds in the back, so I'll list them, though. Stab wounds in the back caused by a two-pronged instrument, which appears to be a roasting fork, blows on the head with a blunt instrument, and strangulation by means of a cord around the neck could singly or in combination have been lethal. I conclude the death was caused by stab wounds in the back, blows to the skull, and strangulation, but cannot determine whether any one alone was the cause of death. I'm inclined to view the death as a result of combination. The second part of this finding is concerned with whether or not a person or persons were responsible in the victim's death, and he says that's solely circumstantial, but he says, I find that Agnes Thompson, mother-in-law of the deceased, was at the Thompson home throughout the day in question until the body was discovered. She was present at the commencement of the inquest and had notice of the adjournments thereof, but did not attend either of them. And on July 16th, at subsequent hearings, she was represented by Mr. Henry Campbell, a public defender through her counsel, blah, 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 didn't testify. On the basis of evidence adduced before me, other than any statements or declarations of Agnes Thompson, I conclude that motive, opportunity, the time element, and physical evidence at the scene compel the conclusion that Agnes Thompson was criminally responsible for the death of the deceased. Most compelling evidence taken in connection with motive, opportunity, and time element is the multiple findings of blood on the premises and on the person and belongings of Agnes Thompson. The blood found on was in the same group type as of Agnes Thompson. Its unexplained presence on a number of different objects and in a number of different places furnished ample support for my conclusions. We are concerned also in this matter with the mental capacity of Agnes Thompson. He's not a psychiatrist or a homicide detective, mind you.
Sir,
neither.
This is a Wendy's.
That's what it is. You went up and you said, I'll have a number 3. No, do large, and I'll do that with a Coke. And he's like, let me give you scientific facts and judgment calls based on something that I'm not an expert at. Yeah, so.
That is a psychiatrist now. He's making clinical claims about somebody's mental capacity.
Listen to how outward this is, too. We're concerned also in the matter with the mental capacity of Agnes Thompson. I have not made a finding in this case of not guilty by reason of insanity, although you haven't made the finding. That's good because you're not a psychologist, psychiatrist, a anythingist. You're a fucking coroner. Yes, dead. That person dead. That's your job.
What could have been the cause of death? That's what we said.
Any estimate on about how long they've been dead for? That's what you're good for. We don't need This guy's collecting evidence, adducing his fucking opinions, and then talking about someone's mental state.
Is he also going to balance the budget of the town after this?
He really should also do something about this fucking bumpy roads. Pave that shit, you asshole. Good Lord. Although I find Agnes Thompson was a mentally ill person on June 15th, 1965, and had been mentally ill for a long time prior to that date, the question of her mental competency in terms of whether or not on June 15th, 65, she had the ability to understand the nature and quality of her acts, knew the difference between right and wrong, and could comprehend the consequences of her acts was not settled clearly before me. You know, because that's not the kind of doctor I am.
Because why would it be?
That's like going to a fucking psychiatrist, taking your shoe off and go, can you look at my toe quick? I think it's a little, there's something, it's hurting me lately. Well, that's not my fucking job. I don't know anything about that. He said,
I gave a copay to my psychologist and then handed him the case file and told him to tell me what the cause of death was here.
Jesus Christ. He said, I am inclined to believe that the one date in question, Agnes Thompson was mentally competent against her in this instance, as it seems essential that this inquest should be concluded and that some warrant should be issued as a retainer so that in the event of her restoration to mental competency, the question of her competency to commit the crime can also be fully resolved in a court of law. So he's saying, I'm putting this warrant out, and it's basically if they release her, then we can arrest her right away and get this all going on. So
very interesting.
He said there's reasonable cause to believe Agnes Thompson is criminally responsible. He goes on to say that it's my opinion that Dorothy Thompson knew her killer. There were no defense wounds on the mutilated body, which makes sense. It is someone she had to be very comfortable with, had to be in the house because she was ironing.
Right.
You don't iron if there's company over that you're not very comfortable with. Mm-hmm. You don't go, I'm going to go iron for a while now. You know what I mean? So she was ironing.
Knock on my door and tell me about solar. Come on in. I was just ironing.
Yeah, and then you turn your back to them and iron so they can blast your skull with a fucking 5-pound hammer. No, that's not how that works.
So you say a battery wall in my garage. Fascinating.
He says the killer stabbed Mrs. Thompson over the left side of the neck with a table fork, which was bent and wasn't usable after many blows. So hard the fucking fork was bent.
That's insane.
That's a lot of rage. Then the killer plunged the large carving fork into the woman's back, penetrating through both lungs, and from there to her shoulders. Oh, God. She probably fell to the floor, and then she was hit over the head with the sledgehammer and in the face over the left eye. The blow crushed her skull, and a large rock crushed her abdomen. Jesus fucking Christ. So another doctor, Dr. Owen Murphy, who's a different medical examiner from the town of Simsbury, he says they asked him what was the condition of Agnes Thompson when you talked to her right after the murder. Mm-hmm. He said, quote, she was warm and full of joy and happiness. Well, that's not the right. She's either insane or a murderer, one of the two, or very happy about what she did. She said, quote, Dr. Murphy, I am awful glad to see you. Okay. She obviously was in a grandiose state of mind, stimulated by some action of religious origin between her and her maker. She seemed subconsciously looking for a reward, as though she had rendered some service. That's the attitude I felt.
What the shit?
I don't know the technical exact terminology for this. I'm not a doctor, obviously, so I don't want to go out of my way. But I think what I'm looking for is fucking like, right? Just a little little fucking cuckoo banana time, right? I don't know if that's dementia, because that sounds that sounds dementia-y to me.
Yeah, and she did just 6 months ago get out of a facility, so who knows what. She may have some shit happening. This
sounds like early onset dementia. Like, just the way she's acting, that's how this person with dementia would act. Yeah. More than a crazy person, you know what I mean? More than a mentally ill person, whatever. So anyway, he said, they asked him, is Agnes Thompson strong enough to lift the body of the deceased? And his answer was yes.
Really?
Which she's a small, older lady, but apparently she could have easily done that, he said. They said, is she strong enough to lift this 19-pound boulder, which was dropped on the victim? And he said, yes, she was. Mm-hmm. So to drop it on her with enough weight to crush things, she'd have to lift it up over her head and drop it. Couldn't she lift a 20-pound boulder over her head?
I mean, that's not so crazy, right? A bag of dog food is like 30 pounds. And that's
Everybody out
easy.
there, ask your grandma if she can lift a 20-pound rock. Give her a 20-pound weight and see if she can lift it over her head. So either way, they make an announcement here. The police decide to make an announcement. This is the announcement. This is the press release, okay? This is from Commissioner Leo J. Mulcahy. He says, quote, "We want to reassure the residents of Barkhamsted and surrounding towns that the killer is no longer at large." That's it. That's all he said.
What?
Didn't say we arrested anybody. Just no longer at large. We got this.
We need more.
That's it. They were saying that the stores in town were out of door locks. The people freaked out and went in town and bought door locks, and
door locks.
They had to wait for the next door lock shipment to come into town. There's literally no door locks. You had to go to Hartford to get a door lock back then. So so he didn't elaborate, didn't say shit. He just said that. People were like, okay, I guess that's good. I don't know.
Stop buying schlages. Everything's good.
Yeah. So the funeral director, John Shea, he's a guy who he sees a lot, and this is a guy who constant dead bodies, and he's got to fix people's heads when they blow the back of their skulls off and shit like that. So this guy it's an undertaker. Undertakers are like even tone, nothing surprises them. He said, quote, "In all the years I've been in this business, I've never seen anything like it. I've had hundreds of accident cases, burn victims, even people thrown through windshields in automobile accidents. But this is the first time I've ever cried when I looked at a body. Whoever did this to Dottie must be a maniac." So
I cried.
That's how bad it was. I mean, it had to put her skull back together. It was mashed to nothing.
Where do you start?
I have no idea. I don't know. That's why I would never want to do that fucking job. So
I mean, and that's like it's like putting together lawn furniture that was opened and returned somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's screws.
It doesn't have all of its parts.
Work.
I can't do this.
It's not even in the box correctly. The box is all mushed out in that one area. It's not supposed to be pushed out. It's square.
This is a head missing an eyeball. How do I make that?
Fuck, man.
Okay to look at.
Holy shit! So there's other theories too. There's a woman named Patricia Borres who's a clerical employee at the Carpenters Brick and Clay Company in South Windsor, where Arnfin worked, and she told the cops that he was at his job all day except for a lunch period of no longer than 30 minutes. Okay. So not enough time to go home and kill his wife. He's been gone, and that she was there way too long for him to have killed her. Got home at 6 o'clock, killed her, went across the street, and then had the neighbors come. She was already cold by then. I mean, it was long over with. So he couldn't have physically done it himself. Arnfin, impossible. There's that. She said that he received several phone calls that day, but could not recall if any of them had been from whoever or who they were from or anything like that. Yeah, he had gotten several phone calls at work that day. So that's an interesting thing here. They're talking about Krista. Can they talk to Krista? Can they get anything out of Krista? Can she be a witness at 2.5? Is 2.5?
See how?
I don't either. Maybe not a witness in court, but can she give any helpful information? Anything at all? But a 2.5-year-old is just, they're trying to match whatever you say. They're going to go or they don't have great narrative ability at 2.5.
No,
they're
basically parrots.
Let me tell you what happened that evening. Now, it was a typical afternoon. I had eaten my peanut butter and jelly precisely at noon. I went down for my 1:15 nap, and I'll tell you, I heard a ruckus. It's quiet normally here. There's a cow mooing, possibly something of that nature. But no. This was a foul ruckus, a sinister, foul ruckus coming from down below. And I said, "What is that? Keep it down! I'm trying to read."
After lunch pairing of Uncrustables and Welch's.
It was lovely. I said, mother, no, you gave me the raspberry Uncrustables. I need a red with this. This is not the white grape. I can't do that. Please, mother, geez, it's a fruit punch arrangement today. Goodness, I have to teach her everything. Really should get a sommelier in here.
This Welch has had great legs.
It's got it's oaky. It's oaky, right? It's got a good flavor. So either way, and after all this investigation, they find one person, a man, who passed the house on his way to work in Hartford on the afternoon shift that day. He drives past the house every day to go to work. He said that he saw a black 1959 Ford parked in front of the Thompson house during the afternoon. When
hey, who
by.
drives that?
That's what he said. So there's one guy. That's what we got here. So he said that, he did that. He said it was about 1:30 in the afternoon, and I was on then a cop saw one too later on. I'm sorry. A state trooper said it was about 1:30 in the afternoon. I was on routine patrol headed south. As I passed the Thompson house, a black 59 Ford heading north toward East Heartland was just coming to a stop in front of it. So a cop saw the car pulling up and another guy saw the car parked there.
Okay.
So it's interesting. There was a pause. The trooper stopped and he said, I had particular reason to look carefully at this car and occupant. About 2 weeks ago, we had a case of indecent exposure at the Reservoir Beach, and the fellow in question had a 1959 black Ford.
Yep.
Oh, my God. And that's why I happened to notice it. Through the rearview mirror, I saw a man walking around in front of the car. He's about 5'10" or 11, well-built, wearing a pink shirt and gray slacks.
Yep.
So he said he was about 30 years old from what he saw in the rearview mirror. It's hard to tell age. He said he wore glasses. He said, I didn't think this was the man involved in the beach incident, so I drove on. I didn't notice the license plate. So he looked at him and went, nah, he looks like an upstanding guy, and drove on. That was his investigation. He said, I didn't think this was the man involved in the beach incident. Maybe the beach incident guy had a different description.
Sure, maybe. Or
it might have been a blonde guy or something. Who
pink
knows?
shirt doesn't look like a dick flasher to me.
He looks pretty upstanding. I got the same frames on my glasses, so never mind. He didn't even write the license plate number down, though. It was like, just drove on.
That's how little it stuck out to him.
Yeah, and didn't have a radio on his collar to call it in or any of that shit. So there's also hair. A toxicologist here talks about this. They established there is hair found by police in in Agnes's apartment that was similar to hair from Dottie. But everybody lives in the house, so that's kind of hard to. Hair gets all around here. So if you've ever lived with two women, you know there's going to be hair all over the fucking house. There's hair everywhere. Yeah. So it's like living with a golden retriever. There's going to be hair.
My daughter's a dick, and she wanders around with her fucking wet brush and just pulls hair out of it and then opens her hand. I'm like, you're in my living room. What are you doing?
Go to a garbage can. Jesus Christ.
Why did you do that?
So there's that sort of thing here. Arn Finn's sister-in-law, Arn Finn's brother's wife here, she said she gave Agnes a perm in her hair the day before, and she said she cut her mother-in-law's hair in the Thompson home. So hair that was found like on Dottie's body could have been hair that was cut the day before in the living room. So that's how that works here. They said, did Dottie ever express any fear of her mother-in-law, who had just, moved in from a mental institution? Would that give her any fear? And she said that her friend said that Dottie said she made her nervous. Agnes made Dottie nervous, but she never said she was afraid of her. Mm-hmm. And they said, did she make you nervous? To the friend, and she said she did at times, yes, about Agnes. She's unpredictable.
Yeah.
She's unpredictable, Agnes. They said, were you both frightened to death of her? And she said, no, not at all. She said, she just made me kind of nervous. They said, well, why'd she make you nervous? And she said, well, quote, well, she was a mentally ill person, and I was afraid she might hurt herself or do something to herself. They said, were you afraid she would hurt somebody else? And they said, no, I never was, not at all, ever. Okay. Like she's a little old lady is the way they looked at her. So they need to solve this thing. So they bring in the detective who's going to solve it, they say. This is the guy, Major Samuel Rowe is this guy.
Major.
He comes in.
Calling all dog owners. Your furry friend deserves top-notch nourishment, and Ollie delivers the clean, fresh nutrition your dog needs in 5 flavors they'll absolutely flip over. Ollie is made in U.S. kitchens with ingredients carefully sourced from trusted growers and producers around the world, with absolutely no harmful fillers or preservatives. With protein-first recipes like fresh beef with sweet potatoes, fresh turkey with blueberries, or fresh lamb with cranberries, you might start thinking, dang, my dog eats better than I do. And that's probably true when it comes to Ollie. Give your pup a fresh start this new year by letting them taste test a personalized meal plan with Ollie. Head to ollie.com/Wondery. Tell them all about your dog and use code WONDERY to get 60% off your first box of meals when you subscribe today. Plus, they offer a clean bowl guarantee on the first box. So if you're not completely satisfied, you'll get your money back. That's OLLIE.com/Wondery and enter code WONDERY to get 60% off your first box. Start your dog's new year off right with Ollie. Start your dog's new year off right with Ollie.
Creating really great retail experiences is tough, especially with multiple stores, teams of staff, fulfillment centers, separate workflows. It's a lot. But with Shopify Point of Sale, you can do it all without complexity. And let's face it, acquiring new customers is expensive. With Shopify POS, you can keep shoppers coming back with personalized experiences and first-party data that give marketing teams a competitive edge. In fact, it's proven, based on a report from EY, businesses on Shopify POS see real results, like 22% better total cost of ownership and benefits, equivalent to an 8.9% uplift in sales on average relative to the market set surveyed. Want more? Check out at shopify.com/Wondery. All lowercase, and learn how to create the best retail experiences without complexity. Shopify.com/Wondery.
He comes in, he has one theory of the crime, and he sticks with it from the beginning. It's fucking Agnes, Agnes, and Agnes, period.
Really?
None of this fucking kid with a 59 Ford. I don't want to hear any of that bullshit.
Yeah.
It's Agnes. Fuck that. He said he was away on vacation when the murder happened, but when he gets there, they put him on the case, and he immediately says, it's Agnes. Absolutely. He said one of the other cops, a Fusenich, Jesus, everybody's got all sorts of Norwegian names. Fusenich. Cleveland B. Fusenich is his name.
Cleveland.
Fuessenich.
Yeah, that's Fusenich.
Fusenich, Cleveland B. Fusenich. He said that he met Samuel Rome in Hartford. He's another cop. And he said about Samuel Rome, Major Rome, quote, he was convinced Agnes Thompson did it. He said, we'll go down to the hospital and talk to her. I'll get the confession from her.
Oh, I'm not even going to question. I'm going to get the confession.
I'm going to get the confession. So Fusenich here, old Cleveland Fusenich, he was present during this interrogation. They go to the Connecticut Valley State Hospital, and he says, quote, she said she saw a man come to the house the day of the murders. This is Fusenich talking. But Rome kept coming around to her. He hammered away at her for 2 hours. Finally, she got down on her hands and knees and cried, I didn't do it. Why won't anyone believe me? Mm-hmm. He said, I couldn't understand why the doctor who was sitting there allowed it to continue. And then he said, I asked Rome, can't we knock this off? And he did. But Rome went back a second time without Cleveland Fusenich here. And this time he left him behind. He brought another detective with him. This is not legal at all. He brought a detective with him to a mentally ill person in an institution, okay? Right. So her sense of reality is a little off anyway. He brought in another detective to pose as her defense lawyer.
Why would you do that?
And then also a policewoman to pose as her son's new fiance. This is your lawyer and your son's new fiance who'd like to help you. That's what happened. That's who he brought in. 2 cops. You can't do that.
He doesn't have a firm grasp on reality at the moment.
Dude, that's fucked up to do that. That's really fucked up, man.
I wouldn't want you to do that to somebody that's got their faculties and they're just in jail being held.
This is crazy. Yeah, you can't. This. Here's your lawyer. Here they are. Oh, no. You talk to your lawyer. Well, they look through a one-way mirror like, what, are you kidding me? No. So they do that. The policewoman, who's her future daughter-in-law, apparently, she told Agnes that she couldn't I can't marry Arnfinn, your son, unless you confess because he's a suspect.
I need some closure.
Unless you confess, then we won't be able to get married because none of this will ever be over. So if you want your son to be happy, you need to confess. So at one point, she said that, and then Rome told her, quote, he would get the key and let her out of the hospital that night if she confessed. You confess, we will walk out of here. We'll be at Wendy's by fucking half hour from now. You'll be eating a Big Bacon Classic. Don't you worry about it.
Why would he say that?
So finally, she confesses.
Really?
She said she did it, yeah. So Rome gets a warrant to charge her, but it's not served because it can't be served till she leaves the hospital. You're not going to take her into custody while she's in a mental hospital back then. So now they would, but back then they don't. So
just chain you to a bed.
Yeah. So then November 1965 comes around. This is 5 months later. They absolutely think they got her dead to rights. She's in the fucking, in her mind, they're like, we got her. She's in the fucking loony bin when she gets out, we'll throw a warrant on her. We'll toss her old ass in jail. No problem.
All squared up.
So November 1965, Arnfinn remarries.
He does.
He marries a woman named Jean Griffin. When asked later on, how long did you know Jean? Did you just meet her when your wife died? He said, I knew her about 4 years. He said, okay. Did she work with you? Yes. At the rural gas service where she helped him with some part-time bookkeeping. And he said also she did extra work for him. And they said, whereabouts? And he said, quote, at her home. That's where she worked out of.
At her home below my waist.
That's where she does her best work. In her home. Her best work. It's
back
phenomenal.
There in the master bedroom.
He said, well, what did she do bookkeeping-wise? And he said, well, she'd write up journals and things like that. And they said, well, you had no business of your own, did you? And he said, I had a few part-time jobs. So it was just very back and forth. Yeah. They said, well, were you seeing her? And he said, well, I saw her socially. And they said, well, what the fuck does that mean? What is see her socially? And he said, probably have a drink or two or so. Or so.
Then what?
Probably have a drink or two or so. Look at that language.
Yeah.
There's nothing in there that's
vague as fuck.
It's three half things. It's three vagaries. There's not one probably have a drink or two or so. Don't quote me is basically what that says.
Yeah.
So they said, well, how often? And he said, started out maybe once a week. And they said, well, was it more than once a week? Hey, Chief. And he said, well, yeah. They said it started out once a week, but, after that, they said it got more frequent. And they said did it get more frequent after 1963? And he said, no, stayed about the same. And they said, well, was your wife aware of this social situation that for the last 3 years you've been having drinks every night with some chick from work at her house half the time?
One or two or so.
One or two or so, probably.
Yeah.
And was your wife aware? And he said, quote, no, she was living with her mother at the time. And they're like,
she moved out.
You were married in 59 and moved in together. And he said, well, she ate and slept there. And they said, well, when did your wife live with her mother? And he said, right after the baby was born, which for help would make sense. They said, well, for how long? And he said, for about 11 months.
That's a long time.
That's a long. I could see 30 days maybe or something if you're not 11 months. Might as well fucking live there forever. So while this is going on, okay, he's getting remarried. He's got all this. During the late summer, Arnfinn had not picked up his mail for like 3 months. Mm-hmm. Just hadn't picked it up. Just left it in the box. Finally, he goes to the mailbox at the East Heartland post office, and the postmaster's like, holy shit, like you got a ton of mail, your box is stuffed. I was going to call you to ask you to come pick it up because there's so much and see how you were doing. That's how small of a town. The postal guy said, I was going to call you to see how you were doing and tell you had a lot of mail.
I noticed.
Everybody knows. So he's going through all his mail, bills, fucking all this bullshit. Finally, he sees one with the address printed in large, weird letters. Very large letters. It's postmarked from Winstead, Connecticut, and dated June 17th, which is 2 days after the murder.
Right.
So he opens it up, and he reads, this is all in like large block print, okay? Quote, I liked your wife. She worked with me at the bank. I told her if I couldn't have her, no one would. She didn't believe me. It took a long time, but I succeeded in what I planned. Soon I will kill the baby. No sign of her will remain in my mind.
What the fuck?
Holy shit. I stabbed her with a fork. I stomped her face. Then I dragged her through the house with an electrical cord. Then I used a hammer to pound the steak is misspelled because there's a lot of misspellings in here. I used a hammer to pound in the stake to hang her. She fell to the ground. Then I bashed her head several times. Then I bashed her in the head and other places several times with a large rock. I used a neighbor's car, spelled like Jim Neighbors, by the way, Nabros, that's how neighbors is spelled. I used a neighbor's car, a dark blue 58 Ford hardtop. I wanted to take her with me away from here, but she wouldn't go. My car was too old and ran too poorly, so I stole, S-T-O-L-D, stole.
That's it.
So I stole someone's on the way to her house. Pretty smooth, except she wouldn't go with me. I'll kill the baby someday soon. I'll kill the baby too, and my wife.
He's married too.
So he's saying he's going to kill this baby still. He's got a real bloodlust for this fucking baby.
Sure does.
It's a real Italian thing, you know what I mean? It's a real, he's going to come for revenge.
Go.
Yeah, the whole lineage has to go, and he's going to kill his wife, too.
So many clues.
Yeah, so many clues here. A lot of misspellings. Dragged is spelled with one G, and then I gave you the other ones. There's all sorts of, but then some of these words are spelled fine. Succeeded is spelled correctly.
You can't spell stole.
Spell succeeded right now, Jimmy.
Succeeded?
That's very good.
Okay.
But a lot of people have trouble with the C's and E's.
Yeah,
if you're not a good speller, that's a tough word to spell. It's one of those. And so that's spelled fine, but neighbors isn't even close. It's not even
N-A, really?
N-A-B-R-O-S. It's not even fucking close. That's not even close. There's several words that are very misspelled.
Stoled ain't even a word.
Yeah, stoled. I stole it. So he said that he read this fucking letter. To kill the baby too, Jesus. Mm-hmm. He thought it's got to be a prank. This is a fucking prank. Someone's fucking with me.
What?
He said, he's like the misspelling. He said electric is spelled properly, but stabbed, because electrical is spelled fine. Yeah. He said, but stabbed is spelled with one B instead of two, and neighbor is spelled with.
How do you get the A-L instead of like? Wouldn't you put it like with L-E if you spell stabbed?
U-L, electrical, you know? So, yeah. So he said succeeded spelled properly, but he stole the car. He's like, this is somebody fucking around is his general. This isn't the same person. So I don't know. They might be selectively stupid, but he thinks it's somebody fucking around. Okay. Yeah.
I hate that. I hate that conclusion.
Major Rome here comes in and he says, quote, this letter is from a fucking crank. That's his quote. He goes, it's bullshit. He said, the sick bastard has written everything that was in the news. He's not the fucking murderer. Return this to the cannon barracks and tell them we'll do everything we can to help them find the sender. Any stupid bastard who would threaten the life of a baby is a fucking psychopath.
Okay, but let's call you a stupid bastard for giving, if all of that information is in the news, you blew it.
Well, no. There's a couple pieces that they hold back, though. They put all this out there. Then there's a couple pieces they hold back for this specific purpose. That way, if you have someone confessing, they have to tell you things that haven't been in the press. I don't know if they held anything back on purpose then, but I know they do that now. Absolutely.
Yeah. They take through a fucking cord. You shouldn't be releasing that.
3 things. And, well, yeah, so there, it's all in there, though.
Yeah.
So he also says, quote, "This is the crime of a woman."
Oh.
Did you see that murder scene and go, "Oh, a woman must have done this"?
Why
We've
would
done.
you say that?
Okay, this is our 299th regular length episode of Small Town Murder. Then we've done 30 fucking expresses. We've done 328 episodes of Small Town Murder. How many times have we had a woman murderer where the scene looked like this?
There, none, 0.
A bunch. You'll see a lot of stabs, but there isn't heads bashed in with fucking multiple overkill, dragging with a cord, hanging over the side, fucking putting the nail all that shit. It's like it's a whole different thing.
Taken out of a head, never.
Yeah. Well, Rome says this is the crime of a woman. So I don't know.
Sexist.
New Year's Eve. Well, he's saying it like police-wise. This is the crime a woman would commit, as opposed to, you can tell from a scene usually what the sex of the perpetrator is, just based on.
Yeah.
So New Year's Eve, 1965, okay? December 31st, 1965, late afternoon, 5 kids are playing in the woods in their grandmother's property, which is at the corner of Martin and Wetwood Roads. Wedtwood Woods. Wow. WEDT. Wedwoods Roads near Route 179. So it's in this area. She called out for the kids, this lady. No response. No kids coming. She's like, what the fuck? She walks out to see what's going on. There's an old stone wall, and they're looking at something, all the kids. And they say, look, it's a piggy bank we found. Oh. It's a piggy bank. So this woman wiped the mud off and brought the bank in the house and handed it to her husband and said, it must be the missing bank. I'll call the state police, because they've said that in the paper a piggy bank was the only thing stolen. It's got to be it. So they find the piggy bank. The cops come get it, and they notice some weird shit here, by the way. Around that time, too, a man who lives on Westwood Road just beyond this property where the piggy bank was found said, quote, I have seen a car drive up and down the road several times at night, but every time I start walking through the woods to get a closer look, it would take off quickly. It was a dark car. I think it was a 59 Chevy, maybe.
They're so good at picking out the years of
fuck. Well, luckily there wasn't a whole lot of cars back then either. There wasn't 47 car brands back then.
Very few makers.
Very few. So the car was, he said the car was not around here before the murder. At least I didn't see it. But since the murder, everybody's senses are a little sharper, and it looked as though someone in that car was looking for something along the road. Mm-hmm. So that's what they said. Now, they told Major Rome about this. He and Sergeant Ragazzi now are going to hey, I got Ragazzi with me. We're going to go take care of this, all right? Yeah. They drive up there to the other police station, and they get the piggy bank, and he takes one look at it. The piggy bank isn't broken. It's a plastic piggy bank that you would, if you wanted to get everything out of it, you would break it.
You have to break it.
You would break it. Instead, it's not broken. The hole in it is cut out. The slot that the coins go in is cut out with a knife. Oh. Like they cut a thing in a knife so you could pour the change out rather than just breaking it, which makes no sense. And he said if robbery had been the motive, stepping on the plastic bank would have been a quicker way to get the contents rather than using a sharp instrument to enlarge the slot.
Sure.
Doesn't make any fucking sense. So he handed it back. And then he says that Ragazzi says, well, how did the bank get from the Thompson house in Barkhamsted to Westwood Road in East Hartland? And, he said, what the fuck? He said, Agnes doesn't drive. She doesn't own a car.
Right.
So they said she certainly couldn't walk from Route 179 to East Hartland. What do you think? And Rome said, quote, oh, she did it all right. She's a strong woman. It was summertime. The roads were good. She could walk it. But then what did she do with Krista?
Yeah.
Did she take Krista too? She said this guy said the Major's one-track mind was in full gear. He said, I'm more convinced than ever that Agnes is the murderer out of this.
Now more convinced.
So you give me evidence that leads me away from her. It makes me more convinced she did it. Even though this evidence, I'm not going to be swayed by things like evidence.
Well, evidence like that is clearly to make us all think that it's not murder. So we've got to stick with our...
This guy's like the old hunch cop. Like, well, I know there's evidence, but I have a hunch. You know what I mean? Never DNA be damned. My hunch is here.
I got a feeling.
So other cops come in. You talked about Fusenich here, or Fusenich. He's the commanding officer at the barracks. He disagreed from the outset about Agnes Thompson.
Yeah.
5 foot tall, 115 pounds, mid-60s. I don't think she did it, basically. And he said, well, I do think she did it. And they go back and forth and back and fucking forth here. Then they get a different autopsy.
Okay.
Okay. This autopsy says that multiple fractures of the skull are the cause of death. However, the other autopsy said it was probably asphyxiation as the final cause of death. So, yeah, it doesn't matter. Either way, they're disagreeing, but she's definitely dead. So we know that. Now, March 15th, 1966, okay? 9 months later, Major Rome sits down. He's got his morning coffee with him there. He's got probably a hard roll, I'm thinking, if he's a Northeastern guy, something on a hard roll. And picks up the newspaper, the Hartford Courant, and sees the headline, quote, Harry Solberg of East Hartland arrested for the murder of Mrs. Dorothy Thompson of East Hartland.
Uh-oh.
So he's like, huh? You made an arrest without telling the lead investigator?
You solved my case? How dare
That
you?
I don't even think the guy killed it. Right. So he screamed, why wasn't I told about this? And he said, well, that's it, grabs Ragazzi, says we're going to fucking Litchfield here. And when they get to Litchfield, they learn that, yes, they have the Solberg guy, Harry, that is Thor's son. Mm-hmm. At this point, he's an aircraft worker. He is picked up and taken to the barracks. He was driven to the Hartford headquarters for a polygraph test where his parents were there. Then he was allowed to go home with the understanding that he would return the next morning for additional testing. And then he comes back for more. And after the second polygraph, he gets arrested for the murder. Mm-hmm. Okay. Rome listened to all this and he said, quote, he yells at the other troopers, quote, I don't care what you say. That fucking kid didn't do it. Okay. Now, a month following the murder, or after a month following the letter being mailed to Arnn there, a number of handwriting samples had been eliminated except for a high school registration card filled out by Harry Solberg.
Uh-oh.
So they have a high school registration card with the handwriting that's similar to the letter. They also have the fact that he drives a 59 Ford.
Yes.
And, that's kind of it, pretty much. And that he was seen in the area, maybe.
And
maybe.
He failed a polygraph.
And he failed a couple polygraphs, which isn't really great either way. Imagine, polygraphs aren't good now. Imagine what they were like then. I mean, Jesus Christ.
A 1960s polygraph.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Yeah.
Hold this car battery.
Hold this car. What if I hit you in the side of the head with this blackjack? Did you do it now? So he had graduated from Gilbert High School, just like Dottie did. He graduated the week of the murder, actually, is when he was graduating. Yeah, which is funny because if you were in a decent exposure kind of a guy and you were going to graduate to a different crime, why not do it on graduation? Right? There you go. Who knows? So after the murder, 7 months after the murder, he married his high school sweetheart named Sharon, and he ended up getting a job at Pratt & Whitney, which is a division of United Aircraft, and also works part-time in the plumbing business with his father there. He drove a 1959 Ford, same type as the one seen in front of the Thompsons' home that day. He's an acquaintance of the Thompsons as well. He's done the work around the house, plumbing, framing work, and all sorts of shit like that. He has also had Dottie help him with homework before as well.
Really?
So he has come over and sat with Dottie and gotten homework help from her before. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And where he lives now, where he moved to, is about a half a mile from where the piggy bank was found.
Oh.
That's not good. Now, on Major Rome, his one fucking cop said, quote, he's an uncompromising, hard-nosed prick cop just out for attention and a bust.
Yeah.
That's what they said here. Prick cop, just out for attention and a bust. So, anyway, they look around. Rome comes to he's going to the house. He's looking around. He wants to see if he can get anything out of this. So he gets there. He stood in the hallway, looks around, went in the bedrooms. He went to Agnes's apartment up there. He looked out the window toward the woods, went back downstairs into the yard and all that kind of shit. He's looking all around. He's fucking, all the officers are with him. He's looking around. He just stops and says, quote, Agnes is the goddamn killer. She was there. She was there all afternoon, and if anyone came, she would have heard them, because that's why he went up in the attic to see what he could hear, or up in her room to see what she could see and hear, which is everything. The lieutenant, Fusenich, said, quote, I disagree with you. Agnes Thompson is a little 64-year-old woman who doesn't weigh much more than 115. She's not much over 5 foot tall and isn't strong enough to lift a 19-pound rock. So Major Rome says, horse shit, I want a whole search of the house and woods. Full search! Which they should have done to begin with, obviously.
Now we want to search?
Now, yep, he came back with the men at night. They scanned all the clothes in Agnes's closet with fucking ultraviolet lights that would detect blood stains. They did all that thing. Even after they'd been washed, you can still detect blood stains on back then. So he said they were looking for any bit of evidence, including blood stains, fingerprints, that sort of shit. Maybe another murder weapon, something, who knows? Who the hell knows what they're looking for? They couldn't find anything. This is before they found the piggy bank, by the way. So they were, looking for all this. He brought in a metal detector.
He wants to make it be hurt so bad.
He ordered the entire area searched, including the adjacent woods. All they found was shitloads of beer cans from teenagers and shit like that. They even dug up where fresh-looking spots were, found more beer cans. Yeah. Then he looked around and he said, quote, call in the honey wagon. I want the fucking septic tank pumped out. He is not accepting the honey wagon. Yeah, that's what they call a septic tank pumper.
That's disgusting.
They have a lot of septic tanks in back east here. Yeah. There's a company around here. I see their truck all the time. Hopefully, maybe we'll see it driving around when we head to Connecticut after we're done recording. And it says, "We take crap from everyone." That's their slogan. It's got a guy smiling on it.
That might be the only profession that I appreciate them being funny and trying, because that's disgusting. Yeah.
You have to have a sense of humor if you work in the shit industry. Yeah. You just have to. Mm-hmm. You have to. That's crazy. So either way, the next day he called Arnfinn and he said, I want you to come with me and the lieutenant and the sergeant to the hospital, and we're going to talk to your mother again. Yeah. Okay. So the doctor agreed Agnes was well enough to be interviewed, provided there's a nurse there with her. He also said that whoever was doing the interviewing would have to use a microphone in the next room, so they could hear over there. Right. So the three of them, Arnfinn, Fusenich, and Ragazzi, were allowed to stay. Agnes was lucid. She talked about her husband dying when she was younger, because he died years and years ago, decades ago, which might have helped her mental spiral as well.
That'll trigger you some depression for sure.
Yep, the hard time she had trying to support her two children in the 1940s.
Oh, my God.
That was hard to do. The doctor brought Agnes a glass of milk and said maybe we'll take a short break. Now, Major Rome tries to get her to concentrate on the day of the murder, not the raising of her children, right? Yeah. She's lucid on that. That's great. But what about this? At the mention of Dottie's name, Agnes got up and walked around, started pacing around the room, which is a bad sign, by the way. That's
guilt shit. Yeah.
As far as body language goes, jumping up and beginning to pace is maybe the worst thing that you could possibly fucking do at that point.
Don't do a headstand and sing either.
Yeah, you're better off going da 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 da. That's less suspicious than You're perfectly fine. Oh yeah, that's great. What about that? Oh, this and that. Dottie. Oh God. So there's that. She starts walking around. Then she says that she just repeated the same thing she said to the officers at the house. I don't know. I didn't see anything. So he got mad and said, quote, it's a lie. It's a lie. I want to leave. Okay.
So does she.
Yeah. So finally, all this got him nowhere. So he just left. Okay. And said he'd return. So now it's lunchtime. He's like, we'll try back in a little while. It's lunchtime. Agnes is escorted to an adjoining room. The officers stayed with her while a nurse went out for some food. One officer said, quote, Agnes is oblivious to the seriousness of the inquest. She acts as if it was happening to somebody else. And there was a 15-minute recess where the doctors talked a little bit. Major Rome said, I don't think she planned to kill Dorothy. I think she got mad at her, and it started a fit of anger. Then she saw what she'd done, and she thought she better finish the job. Then she had another thought to make it look like a robbery. It's the work of a confused person, someone who couldn't carry an idea around the corner. That's what he says.
That might be true also.
That could be true, or it could be a very organized thing, and that's how the person wanted the body to be because that's what turned them on for whatever fucking reason. Because they're not releasing whether they think there's sexual things involved here also.
Really?
Because they think that's possible. So March 16th, 1966, here's Harry A. Solberg. He's 20 years old, the landlord's son. We explained who he was. Here, he's described as by his friends as quiet but fun-loving. Okay. He, like I said, had just gotten married, all this type of thing. He has a baby now as well. He has a baby. He's arrested here at 1:45 a.m. and, was brought in. He's secured without bond for him and all that sort of thing here. Now, there's also still the arrest for Agnes is still floating out there. There's still an arrest warrant for her for murder for this that they've never fucking done anything with.
Right.
They said the prosecutor said more than likely the murder warrant on her will be withdrawn. Well, yeah, you can't say it's both of them. Yeah. You're saying the 20-year-old kid and the old lady were working together.
They don't even know each other.
They have a cabal going together where, he befriended this barely lucid 65-year-old lady, and they concocted a plot to steal $20 in change from her kid and her daughter-in-law. That's insane. So it's a very weird, you can't have that theory. So they talk about all of this. They said that he was one of their many suspects. We had him as a suspect for much time. So they're like, listen, this isn't new. It's just, what it takes. So he comes into court. He's got curly blonde hair is how they describe him. And he says he's a big guy, about 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, which is exactly how the cop described the guy getting out of the car, who he didn't think could possibly be the indecent exposure guy. So that's interesting. A part-time plumbing delivery salesman here said that Harry Solberg, on the day of the murder, did not help his father unload a plumbing truck, as he claimed to the police. So he's saying Harry lied to the police about where he was that day, and they talked to him. They bring him in, and they're going to try to get a confession out of him. They do eventually get a confession out of him.
Really?
This is pre-Miranda warnings, and also because I think 66 is Miranda, the Miranda versus Arizona case is in 66. So this is pre all of that. You still have to do it, but they don't do it. So this is one of those cases that would have been a problem later on. They sat him down for 30 hours and interrogated him.
Straight?
30 hours.
You only put in 10 more hours a week in work.
Yeah, 30. Well, it was 15. Then he went home. Remember, they did 15, polygraphed him, sent him home, brought him back the next morning for another 15.
Whoa.
Nowadays, anything more than 8 is considered, a judge is going to throw that out.
Yeah.
That's going to be considered too long, extenuating circumstances. But
2 double shifts.
30 hours. They say he's got low IQ. He also took 6 years to get through high school, which is an issue. And they say also he admitted to writing the letter to Arnfinn. He said he wrote the letter to divert suspicion from himself, basically. He said that he warned that he would come back and kill the 2-year-old. He wanted it to be like some boogeyman out there. And, that's why he mentioned the car, too, to say like, oh, that's not me. Right. That's this, trying to do one of those. So they're going to try him for murder. He's tried for murder here. So there's a teacher here. One of the things he says at trial, Solberg, is that he went to the Thompson home the day of the murder to get homework. He said, I was there the day of the murder, but it was to get homework help from Dottie. Well, they bring a teacher in, and the teacher says that there was no, as of June 15th, 1965, he had no assignments to submit in the economics course, he claims.
There was no homework.
No, they said everything in the whole class was to be completed by June 11th, so he said he wouldn't have even accepted a report on a later date, so there'd be no reason for him to go there for that whatsoever. Nothing. So Dottie's father comes in. He says that they ask him if he's ever heard him being or heard his daughter being afraid of Agnes, and he said no. She never said she was afraid of Agnes. She said, I know they got along iffy sometimes, but at the time they were getting along, basically. They said she never discussed the fact with you that Arnfinn stayed out most of the night and maybe came home only 2 nights a week. And they said, no, she did not. And they said, so as far as you know, your daughter was happily married. Is that correct? And he says, that's right. So She didn't tell her dad about all this shit, basically. So then they said that's that. So here comes Arnfinn, okay?
Yeah.
The entire time Arnfinn is testifying, every other sentence, the judge has to stop and tell him to speak up. There's no microphone system in the courtroom back then.
Yeah.
So you have to speak up and project so everybody can hear you. He keeps like starting off normal and then trailing off. And by the end of it, he's kind of talking down like this. So that's what he keeps doing. He says like it's deflation, basically, of his air.
He's
so
a beaten man.
The judge keeps having to do it. I mean, it's constant. It's fucking constant. Like to the point where he goes, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but you have got to speak up, man. Like you wait till you hear what he finally says. So they said, they talked about how do you know the Solbergs? And he said, I rented the house from him. We've known the kid since he was fucking 14, all this type of shit. They said we rented the rear house behind them. They left in 1963 and everything like that. They said, can you please speak up? And he said, yes, sorry about that. They said, when did you start to discuss marriage with your present wife? And he said, about 3 weeks after Dottie's death.
Yikes.
They had been together.
That looks bad.
I get that this looks terrible. This is the thing. This could have gone down either way. If he's having an affair and wanted his wife dead and happened to get lucky that somebody came in and killed her while he had a solid alibi,
right?
That's a weird, I guess, stroke of luck. Not a stroke of luck because you wouldn't want the mother of your 2.5-year-old to be dead probably, but
bad
still.
luck. Yeah.
Yeah, but he didn't get accused of it anyway. So they ended up, the judge cuts that line of questioning off. They're not going to bring in he was having an affair and he's a suspect. The judge won't let him do that. So they start questioning the morning of the murder. Arn says that he had toast and coffee in the living room. He shaved, he got dressed, he went to work, and there was tools on the back porch, like a hammer and a nail set and all that kind of thing. He did see the piggy bank. It was either on the hearth or the coffee table. He said he didn't go out and check the tools that morning, but they were all there the night before. They asked him if he's a CPA. He said, I haven't got my certificate yet, but I passed the exam. He said that Agnes, they asked about that. She said she'd been living in the upstairs apartment until recently, had been employed as a domestic. She's been like a nanny and a housekeeper until she went into the mental institution the last time before she came and lived with them.
She's been doing that while she's clearly doesn't have it all together. That's impressive.
That is impressive, yeah. He said she'd worked for a family in West Hartford and one in Granby. And Arnfinn said his brother would take his mother to West Hartford, and then the woman would drive her home. So they said, was she doing housework on June 15th? And he said, no, she was home. So then they ask about the house and the fact that it was Harry over the house, so he knew stuff about the house. Okay. Then they ask about his habits. You come home to dinner only 2 nights a week? Because he said the baby's always watching for him out the window when he comes home. And he said that, sometimes I'm not there, so I guess she's excited to see me. He talks about having some real drag-out fights with his wife concerning him staying out all hours of the night, as one will do.
Yeah.
Even in Goodfellas, she knew what he did for a living. He was a gangster going out doing gangster shit. He's going out to hijack, but she was like, not tonight, you're not going out. Even she was like, no, you can't be out 5 nights a week. Even though I know you're doing gangster shit, still no. Yeah. Try just being out there going, no, I'm doing accounting work till 3 a.m. You don't understand these numbers. It's amazing. These numbers are brutal. So they ask him a bunch more questions. Again, he starts to mumble. He says, quote, I don't really know what was the matter with her. It's been described about 5 different ways to me, and I don't think they know themselves, talking about Agnes. They said, what was Agnes diagnosed with? The judge is starting to get fed up now. And he says, can you speak up, please? This is an important trial. The jury can't hear you. Yeah. I don't know how because he's having the court reporter read stuff back. And he goes, I don't know how the court reporter's hearing you because I can't hear you. Mm-hmm. So if I can't hear you, the jury can't hear you because I'm closer than they are. So anyway, he says that this is amazing. He eventually dismisses the jury from the room so he can have a chat with Arnfinn about his low speech, which I've never seen before in a court of law. He says, I had to do this out of the presence of the jury. I don't want them to get the wrong impression while I'm, reprimanding a witness.
Berating a man, yeah.
He says, to continue to reprimand you, but you can speak more clearly than you are. You're probably emotionally upset. I realize that, but you keep your hand up beside your face and you're mumbling. You have a normal voice, and I don't like to keep creating a scene out of it, so I've refrained. Ordinarily, I would have spoken up 10 times as frequently. This is the judge talking. I can hear practically nothing of what you say. I don't see how the court reporter can get it, and I'm sure the jury can't get it, and I'm sure both lawyers are having difficulty. Is there anything wrong with your speech, sir? His answer, Arnfinn, it's the way I talk.
I've got a torn larynx.
Yeah, I got a torn larynx. That's what it is. He then says, the judge goes, but you drop your voice. It isn't so much the volume, it's the fact that you're mumbling.
That's wild.
He then says, you start to answer the question. This is like a fucking father yelling at his kid. You start to answer the question and you say 2 or 3 words, then you drop your voice. Now, I know it's embarrassing to you. It's embarrassing to me, and I don't want to hold you in contempt of court for failing to answer questions. He says, but it's gotten to the point where it's becoming a very acute situation. This is a murder trial. A man's life is at stake. You are a witness. You were called by the state, and you have simply got to do something about it. You've got to keep your voice up and speak up and answer questions. The reason I think that you can control it is that it's not so much the volume, it's the fact that you mumble. Now, is there anything any explanation that you want to make to me about this, aside from the fact that I assume you're upset? That's a fucking riot act he just read him. That is, wow. That's a lot. Arnfinn's response to that? I've been talking this way my whole life. I don't know.
No, sir. Today, you're going to talk different. That's all I'm saying to you.
Oh, the judge says something even better.
Oh,
quote,
boy.
I don't see how you can hold down a job if that's the way you talk all the time. He's just now assaulting his character. He says, I want you during this recess, I want you to sort of pull yourself together, and I want you to get out here determined to speak slowly and distinctly. Now, I know you can do that better than you're doing. If either of you, to the lawyers, have any suggestions, I am perfectly willing to listen to them, he said. Who can get this fucking guy to speak so I can hear him? That's all I'm asking for. He then said, I'm sorry for anybody who's in the position Mr. Thompson is in, but we have got to get a record of the trial, and it's impossible with this guy. So that's amazing. That's amazing. So they talked about during this trial, they talked about the Solberg case, the Solberg's trial. They talked to him about, the Solberg's lawyer talks to him basically about, you came home, and they go through all that shit again. Then they try to get in that they said, basically they talked to the police about his confession, because they get Solberg's confession in there. And they said he wrote the letter because he was worried about his car and thought the letter would throw police off. Okay, that's what it was, because that's why he tried to write that thing about the car. Major Rome is the star witness for the defense.
This fucking jerk.
Which is unprecedented in Connecticut legal history, to have the state's attorney arguing with a homicide detective it's fucking crazy. So
Tell the homicide detective he's fucking wrong.
He is the state's chief detective.
Oh,
and they're arguing at the state's attorney, state's chief detective, arguing over all this shit. At one point, the prosecutor challenges Rome's veracity, basically. He says, and it is well known, Major, that you believe in working for the state, that you have a right to lie.
Oh, shit.
He said that on the stand. And Rome said, will you please repeat the question?
You know what I said.
Which means, am I going to have to take you outside when this is over and beat the shit out of you for that?
Yeah.
Did you just call me a fucking liar? He said, could you repeat the question? And the defense attorney then objected, and the judge sustained it, and that was the end of that question. So closing arguments come, and here is the state here. He has all this shit. He rests his case. The final argument, basically, he said, we're not even asking for the electric chair, the prosecutor says. Look, we're not asking for that. He said, I'm not pressing for first-degree murder conviction. We'll take second and a fucking sentence in prison. That's fine.
Real.
Don't need to put this guy in the chair. He said he admitted that this is the prosecutor, that he had, quote, not produced the most wonderful evidence in the world. I know I had a weak case, but I think you should put this guy in prison forever. That's not a good closer.
No.
That's a terrible closer. Your closer is... Let me sum up how incredibly rock solid, fucking watertight my case is. He goes, I know it's a little shitty, but You know,
I'm about to cast some serious shadows of doubt over this shit real quick.
And his whole thing is, I'm not asking for the electric chair, so you should be cool with that, which is super fucking weird.
I'm not telling you to kill him. I'm just saying convict him because I'm terrible at this.
He said, there can't be, he said, I don't really have any evidence of premeditation other than the fact that he went there for no reason and killed her. So he had no reason to be there.
That's plenty of premeditation.
If he had a reason to be there, then you could say there's no premeditation. He was hanging out, something happened, and he killed her. But if he went there and the only specific reason he could have to go there is to kill her, that is premeditation. But there's no evidence.
All the tools, did he bring any of those?
No. That was all the shit
in the house.
Those were all on the back porch. It was all the shit. There was all to build the back porch, the sun deck there. So he said the killing of Dottie appeared to be a spur-of-the-moment crime. He said, on the other hand, the state did produce a letter written by Solberg in which he said the slaying was planned. Right. He said whether or not this is sufficient evidence upon which to base a first-degree murder conviction is up to you. So I'm not going to push it, is what he said. Now, the defense attorney said his thing's the total opposite. He said he's fucking innocent as shit. He said the murder, not only was it not committed by Solberg, it was committed by the victim's own mother-in-law in her own home. Right. There you go. He said, quote, I have 30 reasons here why Mrs. Agnes Thompson is guilty. He said, I feel badly trying to prove someone else did this, but I have no choice. He said, a person who could write a letter to a family under these circumstances is a person who could have committed this vicious crime. That's what the state's attorney said. He admitted to the letter, matched his handwriting, so it's got to be him. They said that he told the jury that he thought, he said, yes, I know Thompson was an early suspect, old Agnes there, but it was pretty obvious she wasn't the killer when the piggy bank was taken and found a long way away from her house where you'd need a car. So although Rome said the roads were good, she could have walked it.
She could have hoofed it.
Jesus Christ. So it goes all. Now, he also said that the interrogation, the confession, he said that it was difficult because Solberg said that he couldn't remember what happened in the Thompson home. He knows he went there, but he had a memory gap. So he doesn't remember. A memory gap there. So they said, who knows what he did. He says, then the state's attorney said, I claim he did it and admitted it. The defense says, the mere fact that I didn't, this is the prosecutor. The mere fact that I didn't produce these things doesn't mean I concealed them. Because the defense's thing is they tried to hide from you evidence. A husband had affairs going on for years and then married the woman right afterwards. And then, this the mother-in-law, they hid all this from you.
She had to have heard it.
She confessed to it.
Yeah.
She was in. So that's what they're doing, basically, just to draw some. Because, reasonable doubt's reasonable doubt. Anyway, they said if anything has been established in this case, it has been to eliminate Agnes Thompson as a suspect. That's the prosecutor. Now, the prosecutor said sex was probably the motivation in the murder. He said that Solberg probably came over, probably tried to get with her. Yeah. She probably wasn't interested, and he fucking killed her, basically. They said that she had no defense wounds, but he was known as a friend to them, Harry Solberg, and she would have opened the door for him. And, she had no idea.
Turned to him.
Yeah, but still, if he was he could have said, I'm going to do something on the back porch. Uh-huh. He could have said, Arn asked me to put in some nails on that sun deck, and I'm going to go do that real quick. And she would have went, sure, I'm going to finish ironing. He could have went out in the back, grabbed a hammer, came in, fucking bashed her head in with it. Who knows? Mm-hmm. Carving fork and then decided the hammer. We have no idea here. The prosecutor said, little did she realize she was admitting a fiend instead of a friend.
Yeah.
There you go. So he also reminded the jury that Solberg said he opened the piggy bank with a knife or scissors to get at $16 and change inside.
Wow.
This is something that wouldn't have been known to anybody but him.
$16.
$16, but the way the piggy bank was opened
yeah.
was one of those things that was not told.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the kids could have told somebody, and then they could have spread it around rumor-wise, but it wasn't in the paper anyway. So then he showed the jurors the hole in the bank, just like Solberg said he made it. He said Harry Solberg is the responsible party here, and he alone committed this horrible, horrible crime. So blood and fingernail scrapings were also taken from Agnes there, and they said that they couldn't find anything physically, but they said her motive was she hated her daughter-in-law. The defense attorney said tragic is the word I would use here. Tragic. He said, because this Harry Solberg that I'm representing, he said is, quote, one of the purest and most innocent boys who's ever lived.
Weird thing to say about somebody.
It's a little much, right? I don't believe that no matter what you say.
He didn't do this. He's not one of the most purest. Stop it.
One of the most pure and innocent boys I've ever met, who's ever lived. Not even I've ever met, who's ever lived. He said he just happened to walk into the Thompson house that day and got into trouble. He said, one of 3 different statements he gave to the police. He had different statements because he didn't do it. That's why he gave different statements. He asked the jurors to remember a physician testified that it must have taken 10 minutes to stab, hammer, and strangle Dottie to death. Why would this boy hang around messing with the body all over the place? Anyone with sense would do their job and get out of there. That murder was a woman's work. Because they don't have any sense.
Women, these dumb bitches.
He said the same thing that Rome said, except in a completely different context. That is unfucking real. Anyone with sense would do that. A woman did this. A senseless, dumb woman.
Incapable.
Who doesn't know how to murder people correctly. You know what, guys? That's one more thing we're better at. Murder. So the defense lawyer did all of that. He also said that State Police Major Samuel Rome was the state's greatest investigator, and he believed Agnes was the killer. So why are we even in court, basically? Right. He said that, I'm sorry I had to put the case on somebody else, on Agnes, but he said I had to bring out all the facts. Why do I have to do that? Because it's my job. And I think that the prosecution has given you a horrible injustice. He then said, you're basing this on a confession that was at 30 hours of police pressure on a boy with a low IQ who took 6 years to graduate from 4 years of high school. He said, there's not a word of corroboration in this so-called confession. In fact, it's a disorganized mess. Like someone with a low IQ and bad organizational skills who would leave a crime scene a mess like that. Right. You just described him as disorganized.
You just described the crime scene and your boy in the same words.
This is one of those where a profiler would go, well, it's a mess. It's all over the place. It's clearly not planned like this. It's poorly done. It's fucking, They
probably
would first timer.
6 years to graduate.
First timer probably too. Yeah. Who might have worked his way up from indecent exposure, which is
right.
It tends to do that. He told the jury to use common sense in deciding this case. He said, he's been behind bars for 7 months awaiting trial. Quote, let this boy go back with his wife and family.
Oh, boy.
So the jury deliberates for about an hour when the judge orders sheriffs to take them to a nearby restaurant.
They should be hungry. I'm hungry.
They should be. Don't bring them in food. Take them out to eat. So they go out in public and deliberate while eating dinner.
Wow.
About 4.5 hours of deliberation here that night. By the end of the night, they say, well, we can't reach a verdict tonight. It's the end of the night. So they go, okay, 8 women and 4 men on the juror. They're sent home at about 9:30, and they come back 10 a.m. the next day, and they're doing all this shit. They're deliberating.
Yeah.
They're refreshed. They're full of food. Judge McDonald gave the jurors 2 alternates. He said they could stay on if they felt there was a possibility of reaching an agreement within a half hour or so, or if they preferred, he said they could be resumed later on. They came back in the morning, and the next day they come back, they deliberate a little bit more, and then they come out and say, we can't reach a verdict. What? Hung jury, mistrial.
Wow.
Hung jury. So at this point, the judge was, when they were leaving afterwards, the judge was talking to Solberg's counsel and said, quote, maybe you should think about letting him plead guilty to manslaughter when they refile the charges. And the fucking lawyer said, I wouldn't let him plead guilty to a breach of the peace right now.
Oh.
With their fucked up thing.
Yeah, I feel like I've got this one in the bag.
Yeah. November 4th, 1966, Agnes dies in the hospital.
Oh, my gosh.
She dies in Connecticut Valley State Hospital. That's why I think maybe it's on early onset dementia.
Yeah.
Because she didn't have any diseases and she died, which dementia can kill you. So
sure. It makes your body forget how to fucking function.
New trial comes out here. New trial. They move it into Bridgeport because there's tons of publicity. This trial, though, they're having a big deal about whether or not to throw out the confession tapes because it was such a long confession, and now Miranda's being, tried in Supreme Court and all this type of shit. They said that the tapes are the best evidence in this case. He said it's a matter of great urgency that the tapes be taken from officers because they said they left them in a hotel room and it was like the lock was tampered with and people were trying to steal the tapes. Either way, he says letting them hold on to the tapes is like putting the fox to guard the chicken coop. So they're trying him for first-degree murder. Trial's about halfway through when, out of nowhere, on January 25th of, I believe, 67 or 8, I don't even know, might have been to 8, they decide the state pulls back the first-degree murder. They null the first-degree murder indictment and substitute a charge of malicious threatening.
What?
Under the blackmail statute for the letter he wrote. They say halfway through the trial, they go, we're fucked. He's not going to be guilty.
Oh,
we can't get
God.
him because they threw out the confession. They wouldn't let the confession in. Without the confession, they have a guy who said they saw a car sort of like his near the house that day.
Right.
That's all they have. They have a bunch of coincidence shit, but that's not enough to convict somebody. So they end up doing that. They end up saying it's the state's blackmail statute, malicious threatening for the letter. The charge is based on that. The state's murder case collapsed when the judge ruled the tapes inadmissible under the Miranda decision that just happened.
Dear God.
So he said those exhibits that were they only meet 3 of the 6 requirements under Miranda to be admitted. Mm-hmm. So you can't have that. So in the first trial, that's all it was. Major Rome again testified for the defense in this trial and everything like that.
He's such an asshole.
Absolutely. So the clerk of the court asked Solberg how he pleaded to the substituted charge. And he said, quote, guilty.
Yeah.
I'll plead guilty. He already said he did that.
I wrote some letters.
So sentencing comes around, and we're pretty sure he killed this lady at this point. You, sir, may fuck off, Jesus Christ, 1 year and 1 day to 10 years in state prison.
Okay.
Because 1 year would be state time rather than being in jail. So 1 year and a day to 10 years. So he could be released in, by the way, in October of 1967, he's paroled.
Unbelievable.
They let him out with time served and exceptional good behavior. That was that. And he had a baby girl. Arnfinn, who obviously remarried, he moved to Massachusetts after that. Now, yeah, I got to get the fuck out of here. Rome, Major Rome here, there's some stuff about him. The district attorney in the first case said that he didn't want to talk bad about Rome. He said he called him a good and dedicated cop, but he said his actions in the trials of Solberg were, quote, a terrible thing. Yeah. He said one day he brought his whole crew and they filled up the courtroom. I was not impressed with his motives. I don't really want to discuss it. Whoa. So Rome said of the prosecutor, quote, he called me a liar. I never forget that. He's a first, second, and third class jerk.
You might not be a liar. You might believe wholeheartedly that you're wrong.
That's the thing. Yeah, he might not be a liar. You might just disagree here.
You might just be a dummy that didn't follow the truth.
Jesus Christ. Fusenich, who thinks that Solberg did it, that's his guy, the other detective. He said when asked later on, because he became a police commissioner a few years later, and they asked him if he thought that Solberg should be tried again on murder charges, and he said that he, oh my God, thought, quote, I think the young man suffered enough.
Oh my God.
If he butchered a woman like that, you can't suffer enough. He did 6 months in jail. What are you talking about?
Her eyeball came out, you fucking idiot.
What the fuck? I think the young man suffered enough. Holy shit. So the commissioner during the Thompson case said he remained neutral, but he did nothing to prevent Rome from testifying, which is what was annoyed there. Yeah. Rome said, I think he wanted me to hang myself, wanted to give him enough rope to hang himself. Yeah. Rome's last murder case that he ever investigated was the slaying of a University of Connecticut co-ed in 1969. Rome was forced by the courts to release a suspect he believed was the murderer that he was sure of. The case was then solved 5 years after he retired when another man confessed to the crime and blood work put him there. He quit the department in 1970 after learning that Fusenich would become the new commissioner. He became the security chief at Sanitas for 5 years. Is that the chips? The tortilla chips?
Right.
I think it is.
Security guard?
I think so. Guard the corn. And he was a private detective after that. He said he's proud of his police career. He said the furor aroused by his methods over the years has done little to diminish his self-confidence. He said, quote, "When I'm right, I'm right."
Yeah, but when you're wrong, you're super fucking
You're
wrong.
really wrong. That's the problem. March 1981, Arnfinn dies.
Oh, no.
He died in March 1981. Harry Solberg, I believe, is still alive.
Is that right?
He's in Minnesota, from what I understand. I won't say the town.
Yeah.
He's kept out of trouble. I see in 2015 he was he filed bankruptcy, Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And in 2003, he was arrested for operating an ATV on the roadway.
In his fucking, what, in his 70s?
And he's probably 60 years old at that point.
My God.
So, yeah, he was born in 45. So,
Okay, so yeah, 60s.
no, he was only 57 when that happened. So that's fine.
Running
58
a fucking ATV up the road.
on the road. So that's him. Otherwise, he appears to still be alive and in Minnesota. And
Jesus,
and
amazing
very
murder.
lucky also,
Yeah,
I might say.
yeah.
Very,
Yeah.
very lucky man.
Yeah.
Because if he did it, he's very lucky that he got away with it. And if he didn't do it, holy shit, is he so fucking lucky that they didn't just fucking put him in the electric chair like they used to do back then.
He's also very lucky that a terrible rapist did some bad shit, and the Supreme Court ruled in his favor.
Absolutely. So, yeah, they that's how that works. And no one ever went to jail for murder.
Oh, my God.
Like we said, about, 8 months was served in total for the horrible, awful slaying of this person. I hope Krista grew up. I didn't look Krista up because I'm going to leave her alone. I just hope Krista grew up to be – I hope she grew up to, I don't know, be fine and understand that. Her dad died when she was under 22 and she's 18.
Why did Grandma ask if she's dead yet? What the fuck was that?
What I mean. I think here's what I think happened. Grandma's got dementia. Grandma heard noises. Grandma looked out, saw Dorothy getting beat to death, and went back in her room like, that's none of my business. Yeah. And then when someone else came later, she came out like, is she dead yet? Because she saw her getting the front end of it.
Right.
But then again, how would she know that the person was trying to kill her and not just in a fight with her? It's really...
Why'd Krista say she killed her?
That's the other thing. There's so much to this that makes you go, fuck, there's not enough. You just wish there was some way to solve this goddamn thing. But
Did he put women's clothes on to cover his clothes when he was beating the shit out of her?
I don't know. I doubt it. I mean, that would be an awful lot. Just put on a sundress. Just throw on a house coat? Maybe. Who the fuck knows? Maybe he put a wig on. Maybe he was playing Big Bad Wolf. I have no idea
Unbelievable.
what he's doing. But yeah, this is insane, and it's a crazy case, and we hope you enjoyed it. Holy shit. A Halloween mystery. Yeah, me too. This is a nightmare house of a Halloween mystery. So if you enjoyed it, tell the world about it. Give us your theories as well, but do that on social media. Leave a review, though. That helps a lot. Tell everyone you liked it on whatever app you're listening on. 5 stars would be wonderful. Head over to, also social media. At Murder Small on Twitter, at Smalltown Pod on Facebook, at Smalltown Murder on Instagram. Tell us what you think fucking happened here. Let us know your theories because we love hearing. Because people will come up with shit where we're like, wow, we didn't even think of that.
I think about that,
yeah. You never know. Different people have different points of view, so we'd love to hear some different ideas on this case.
I hate a particular person in the case, so it's hard to you know what I mean? Yeah. It's hard to see either side fairly.
It's difficult. I'm very biased at this point.
I'm
so
very mad at that man.
You fucking idiot. So either way, do that. Hang out with us. Head over to shutupandgivememurder.com today. Get your tickets to virtual live show, which is now, probably. Unless you're listening the minute this comes out. Yeah. It's now. It's Thursday, October the 27th, and will be available for 7 days after that. You can purchase it at any time. You can, watch it Thursday, then watch it every day for the next week. Do whatever you want to do, or you can buy it later. Get it. Hang out with us. It's going to be so much fun. Virtual live show, just like a live show, but you're in your living room. Cool case. You can see all the pictures. It's fun shit and a lot of fun. We always have a great time with those, so do that right now. Also, head over to Patreon. You want to do that. Patreon.com/crime and sports is where you get all of the bonus materials for $5 a month or more. That's nothing. It's a cup of coffee. You spend that on garbage every day. You know you do.
It's almost free.
You can get so much content. You can get, there's a huge back catalog of bonus episodes to listen to, like 150 of them. You can listen to that. In addition, every other week, you're going to get 2 more.
You betcha.
1 crime and sports, 1 small town murder, and it's a lot of fun. This week for crime and sports, what you're going to get is, imagine if LeBron James, the can't miss #1 pick of the draft at, in 2003 or 2 or whenever it was. Imagine he comes out, is drafted number 1. He's ready to take his throne atop basketball, and instead, the day he's drafted, he drops dead from a cocaine overdose heart attack. How crazy would that be? It was crazy because it happened to Len Bias in 1986, and we'll tell you all about it. It's exactly what it was. And then for Small Town Murder, we are going to talk about the differences between reality and the Netflix special for Jeffrey Dahmer. We are going to talk about what characters didn't exist, what characters weren't like that, what characters, what victims did they go, one's death, one's a model. Let's just make a death model. That's easier.
Why'd they do it?
Why? We'll talk about all that stuff and kind of get mad at Netflix a little bit for it. Everything and more, patreon.com/crime and sports. And, of course, you will get a shout-out here. When will you be getting that shout-out? Goddamn now. Hit me with them like a 5-pound hammer, Jimmie.
This week's executive producers are Roy Kuntz. It could be Kuntz. I don't know. What are you going to say? Gary Friedman, thank you so much for Roy Kuntz.
Roy Kuntz.
Gary Friedman has been giving us money for years
Gary.
now. And Gary,
Gary's a good dude.
I got to say thank you. Appreciate you, man.
Gary.
Katie, and there's no fucking way I'm saying this right. Sicanyano. What?
I'm sure you're on the money, Jimmie.
There's a G in there and Sichi. Sicanyano.
You're on the money, dude.
Robin, maybe, I believe. Andrea Clark, Gulam Shamulzi. I don't know if that's real. Nate at the Gold Standard Maintenance, and also Sharon Lee Jones. Thank you guys so much for everything you do. It's really more than appreciated. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Other producers this week are Yeti Shetty and JB in Canada. Zoe Bednasak. I see you, Zoe. Keep going. You're doing great. Wee Willie Keeler and his wife Mildew. Mark Ratner and Damone. Peyton Meadows. Peyton's been around for years
thank
also.
You so
and
much.
Brendan Abels. Thank you guys.
Hey, Brendan. We love Brendan Abels.
Carla Horner. Listen to episode 61. Do you remember that one, James? Whoops-a-daisy. Kurt Olson, and also thank you, officer. Unnecessary shower scene in the Allentown video. Tia Churchill.
Men's asses, yeah.
Jimmy's Tijuana stripper. The guy from MASH who looks like Killer Khan. I don't know who that is. Which one looks like him? I'm not sure.
I think they're making a joke that a lot of people do because they're in Korea.
Got it.
Killer Khan was an Asian wrestler.
I will move along. Cheyenne Iman, Andrea Fellows, Stacy Heben, Janice Hill, George Jefferson's first dollar earned from dry cleaning. Jen Parado. He's made a lot of money. Jen Parado, Megan Stanford, Caitlin Peterson, Pamela Catherine, Ethan Banks, Robin Vergari, that's not right. Vergari is probably right. Jamie Steves, Dylan Barber. It might be Jaime also. Christy Brewer, Aggie Music, Eric C., Christina Lutz, Samantha with no last name, Robert Johnson, Haley, I think, Piran Dozy.
Hang with it, Jimmie. You got this.
Kyle Irie, Sophia Petrio, Christy Waters, Zach DeBlansack. Ryan Wilson, Victoria Hohenwarder, Warder, like people say it in what is it? Pennsylvania. Warder. Is that Philly?
It's Philly.
No, it's Pittsburgh, right? Is it
kind
Philly?
of more? It's Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
Who knows?
Warder Rice, Lebanon James, Amanda with no last name, Crystal Viramontes, Arabia Breakfield Dinger. Alexis Freiberg, Allie with no last name, Amy Bob, Anthony Hewitt, Lindsay Hobbs, Patricia Linners, Lex Mullet, Stormy Braga, Sam Hamilton, Amy Pierce, Nels Shelton, Lindsay Buck, Dylan Dutch, Kara, Neeram, Bethany Hagan, Bridget Brick, Claire with no last name, Sherry Humphrey, Tanya Barron, Syrinx with no last name, Brock Norris, Rebecca Swift, Sweetie, no last name, Layla Baca, Dabby Abbey, Megan Alvarado, Stacy Lessig, Krasef with no last name, Stefan, nope, that's Christopher.
Okay.
The Patrick Cadian, James Cornelson, Andrea Morrison, Kimberly George, Dave Schaefer, Chrissy Whiff, That can't be right. That's a fucking miss. All right. Aaron Lowry,
right.
Luke with no last name. Brett Bias, Jesse Sandlin, Kimberly Barnes, Lucy Kraft, Michael with no last name. Luke Tyrell, Jessica Ivory, Johnny O'Hara, Dan Morris, Ann Quackenbush, Dana Penny, Brittany Proctor, Michelle Conliff, Melanie. Nope, that's Molly. Landeck, Stephanie Tell, Melissa with no last name, Amy Johnson, Geggy with no last name, Emily Leone, Alex Schultz, Melissa Alpert, Madison Holly, Caitlin Walker, Julia Condon maybe, Brandon McPherson, Chase Stanley, Mikkel with no last name, Sammy Woods, Emily Blackwell, Christina Miranda. Those are two different people. Lucas Prasha, Bendu Simpson, Kimberly Cooper, Savannah Veltman. That's close to Vietnam. Sean David, that is my Vietnam.
I was laughing at that. I was like, oh, God.
Elizabeth Schmidt, Chandler Kafode, Madeline Crumbus, Laura Zelnio, Charles Gies, Shlomo Dean, Zane Bohey, Patrice Dotriev, Dalton Luna,
Nice.
Rebecca Kaufman, Daniel Morgan, Menzie Chase, Katrina
Dr.
Perez,
Menzie.
Jen O'Regan, Patricia Mosina, Chantel Forster, Luke Messmer, Hari Patel, Steve Foost, Denise with no last name, Connie Bennett, John Phipps, Sean Neugebauer, Max Murray, Katie Cakes, Desiree Benson, Danny Bellinger, Courtney Legacy, Corey with no last name, Sandra Groves, Charnel Coggins, Brittany Folochinito, Elizabeth Petrella, Jacob Curtis, Cora Rodeledge, Kayla Gowdy, Lacey Soyster, Crystal Griffin, Chris Vuniver, Carrie Plummer, Kevin Whitney, Molly, Russell's Wart. Yuck. Molly Russell's Wart. Yeah, who's
there
that? You know who it is. I don't know who it is.
You know Uncle Buck fans.
Oh, that's where it's from. Danielle
Russell's
Willie.
Wart.
Cynthia Romero, Nikki Lee, Sharon Ross, Sandra Rowland Backward, what? Daniel Jones, Isa Vega, April Makeley, Chance Shrecken Ghost, Tiffany Capozzi, Travis Runn, Jennifer Collins, Keegan Kittle, Betty Williams, Sean Snar, Samantha Volner, St. Dog Mom, Connie Moeller, Monique Carmen, Matthew Smith, Cheryl Holmes, Edward
Matthew Smith. You said that like it was. I expected this long Italian last name. You're like,
not a thing.
Smith.
Eduardo Juan Morales, Jay Mount, Whitney Van Wyck, L. Goodman, Shane Thomas, Ross Gowlick, Tracy Reiser, Raylan Crowley, Kara with no last name, Matt Spicer, William Doster, Chris with no last name, Braids Grenades, Nathaniel, goddamn it, Wilder, Clint Baker, Bill Hinkley, Rosemarie Spargour, Ted Degerapont, Rachel Esposito Kelly, Amy Lee, probably not that one, Brian Weidman,
Hey,
Jeanette LeBlanc, Jaden Clare, Heather Murphy, Ryder Holder, Nerman, with no last name, Jack Bola Blue, Bobby Lou, Morgan Bleeger.
Are you just making up sounds now?
I think so. Anna Karina Castillo, Charles Theis, Beth Whitaker, Santayana, Sonny Carter, Santayana, I think that's right. Michael Thiem, Andrea Darnell, Seda with no last name, Anthony Francis, Eden Holy, Allison, Patrick, Carly K, Bittner, that's one person. Katie Burns, Rich Traub, Robert Miller, John Arndt. That can't be right. Haley Cassabon, 1-2. That's a person. Michelle Sprayberry, Malt Stange, Courtney Howlett, Gina Winterstein, Pamela Lucci, Michelle Wells, Derek Adams, Olivia Tungy. Or Tongue. Allison Lindsay, Alex Cameron, Gabby Machow, Allison, Ashley, Ashley, McGonigal. McGonigal, that's it. Leonidas' mom, Nicholas Carter, probably not that one. Christine Heck, Alessandra Pildner von Steinberg, Andy Scorfield, Craig Hunt, Josh with no last name, Logan Paterka, and Melissa Elrod, and all of our patrons. You guys are amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. You wonderful, wonderful people. Yeah. We really, really appreciate it. Cannot thank you enough. If you want to follow us on social media, very easy to do that. Just Google search Small Town Murder Podcast Hosts. We're the only ones. Or head over to shutupandgivememurder.com, and you could find the links to everything there, and merch and tickets and social media, you name it. It's all in one spot. Either way, keep coming back and seeing us week after week and year after year and decade after decade and all that kind of shit. And until next week, everybody, it's been our pleasure. If you like Small Town Murder, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
It takes one guy out there to say, who's that Kyle who thinks he can just get on a microphone on a podcast and start publicizing this?
From iHeart Podcasts and Tenderfoot TV comes a new true crime podcast, Crook County.
I got recruited into the mob when I was 17 years old.
Meet Kenny, an enforcer for the legendary Chicago outfit.
And that was my mission, to snuff the life out of this guy.
He lived a secret double life as a firefighter-paramedic for the Chicago Fire Department.
I had a wife and I had 2 children. Nobody knew anything.
People are dying. Is he doing this every night?
Torn between 2 worlds.
I'm covering up murders that these cops are doing.
He was a freaking crazy man.
We don't know who he is, really.
He is my father, and I had no idea about any of this until now. Welcome to Crook County. Available now. Listen for free on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.